think that FromSoft would have enough pull to go to Sony and say, "Hey, we love Bloodborne. We wanna spruce this game up and release like a next gen patch, get it on 60 frames on PC and PS5, and touch it up a little bit." You think they would have pull to do that? Even though they don't own the IP. I find that weird.
What my opinion is?
Yeah.
Me personally, I think they don't want to work on Bloodborne. I think they want to completely move past this game. They've had at least 5 to 6 years of work on this game. They even gave like a spruce up to fucking Sekiro. They did
Mhm.
not do this to Bloodborne. And I'm pretty sure Sony would be more than happy to be like, hey, yeah, if you want to do it, we can do it and probably get some more money off of it, whatever the case may be.
So you think Miyazaki's blaming Sony as like
Yes.
a deflection, even though it
Yes.
might be on him?
Yeah, I read several interviews from several different articles, and
Mhm.
each one sounds like he's just like, hey, yeah, like I mean, the technology is there, but I mean, do I really want to work on it? That's
Uh-huh.
the vibe I was getting from it. Like,
Yeah.
it was just like, haha, yeah. I mean, we could work on Bloodborne, yeah,
Mhm.
but do we want to? No, like he didn't want to say it. So I
That's
think
so weird.
I think
Yeah.
at the end, the last journalist who got to him, he was just like, "Listen, go to fucking Sony with that shit. Do not come to us. I
Yeah.
don't fucking care, or I do
Yeah.
care." He just did say face like, "Hey, I want to. Of course, we want to work on Bloodborne, but I don't think anyone wants to work on Bloodborne.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
was a technical disaster, um, or it had to be something." Because the game is good, don't get me wrong, but I think something is preventing them from not wanting to work on it, and maybe it is like some kind of technical thing going on with it where they're just like, we
Right.
don't want to unpackage this
They
because
can't they can't say
yeah,
anything. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hi everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take. This is episode 260. I'm your host Justin DeSimone, and joined as always by my co-host Montrell Rice. Montrell, outside of Miyazaki avoiding Bloodborne like the plague, what how's life?
Uh, this has been a roller coaster, man. It's been a roller coaster. Uh, Last week after the podcast, after that day, it was like shit, and it was shit all the way up until like maybe yesterday. Now everything's
Oh
okay,
no.
but
Okay.
just with work, man, it's crazy.
Mm,
Even with like video games, because like I've been struggling to play Helldivers, so yeah, I mean, I haven't really been playing any video games to be honest with you. I've just been studying my ass off and everything like that. And you know what the
gotcha.
crazy part is? I'm not even going to take the test. Like I got 2 more classes to do. Then I can take the test, and the test is not until November. So,
Mhm.
so
November? I thought it was
yeah,
August. Oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah. It's not even till
Jesus
November.
Christ, dude.
So,
Man. I gotta say, I have to like I appreciate your will here to do this the way you're doing it. I don't think I would be able to do this. Like it sounds so intense and so long term, in terms of the
well,
time frame that
I'm
damn
taking
dude.
a long term route because I really want to take the test once and pass. I've been on Reddit's about the CCNA and everything of that nature. I seen one guy who said he think it was 7 or 10 times he tried to take the test
Oh
and
my
then and
god.
failed it.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, y'all, this test is not free. This is
You
like
gotta
a
pay
hundred
like
to yeah, two to
a
three
couple
hundred
hundred.
bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just don't want to be my first test since I went through the classes or the vouchers going to be free for me. And then next time I have to take it, but there won't be a next time. So there
Mhm.
my test is going to be fucking free.
Yeah.
But it's just um obviously I've been away from the traditional way of doing Cisco. I've graduated onto Meraki stuff now and everything of that nature.
Mhm.
So all the stuff that I learned at Container Store is still there in my head. I still know how to maneuver around the console. So when I'm there, it's not unknown to me. It's just now I actually know. I don't want to say I actually know what I'm doing because I knew what I was doing at Container Store too, but I know the foundation of what I'm doing now.
Well, you knew commands, right? Like it's like I guess there's a difference. Like I feel like I know commands and I can play around and manipulate things in Cisco command line, but I
Mhm.
don't know like if I was I don't even know what I'm capable of doing, I guess, like fully. I don't know
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
I don't know every command in Cisco command line. I also don't know um, I don't know that, like you're saying, that underlying foundation necessarily. Like it's kind
Yeah.
of it's surface level. I mean, I didn't never needed more than that. So um, but yeah,
Yeah,
but no, yeah.
it's just good to know. Like, I like doing networking, so I didn't
Hmm.
know it was a lot of math involved in it, and it's not even hard math. It's just like different formulas you have to remember. Um, if that makes
Mm,
any sense.
hmm.
But it's not even hard formulas. You know, it's not like you're doing calculus or anything. It's just like you have to know which formula to use in which situation that's presented to you for like subnetting
Mm.
and things of that nature. And you have to remember memorize your fucking your exponents. But that's pretty much it. Um, to be honest, IPv4 is way harder than IPv6. IPv6 is so fucking simple. I thought that was going to be the hardest one. IPv4 is simple. I mean, IPv4 is the hardest. Uh,
Interesting. So you think
yeah,
so we should move over to IPv6, but we're never going to because we figured out how to make IPv4 basically infinite,
pretty much. Yeah,
and we would have
we
to
we keep
change the way every device on the planet
yes,
works
and
essentially.
now that I know how IPv6 works, it's insanely easy. And the hold that IPv4 has on the world, we just need to let it go. It's such an outdated.
So
It's so outdated.
it's
Yeah.
like the American inches system versus the metric system.
No, it's like
Sorry, I mean that the metric system is the easy one, by the way.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
I mean.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a
Uh,
dumb American who's very stubborn about that.
no, no, it's IPv4 is like super simple. There's an IP address for each grain of sand in the world. That's how we made it. We're probably never gonna run out of IP addresses. In the next 200 to 300 years, the world survived that long. Or whatever the case may be. But IPv4, we're completely out of those. Like that ran out in like the 90s or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, but they figured out subnetting, which is how.
yeah, which is why we have fucking
Right.
IPv4 and yeah, and subnetting and
Right.
stuff like that. And they figured out a way to convert it to make private IP, private,
Yes.
networks and everything of that nature.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a lot. I didn't even. This is just like the first class, so I didn't even get into like spanning trees and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I really want to learn because I have a history with the spanning tree. Uh, that whole debacle that happened
Oh,
at the
yeah. Yeah.
that happened when I was in LA at the Century City, not the Century City store, but the other store. Was it Century City? It may have
Farmers
been Century
market.
Farmers Market. Yeah. When I was at Farmers Market, and it turned out it was the spanning tree, which is something I couldn't have predicted or whatever until Jamal went
Mm.
out there and fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I really want to learn that, and I'm going to learn that next class. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think it's really interesting. If I was to do it right, though, or this is actually an accelerated class. So instead of 16 weeks, I'm learning it in 8 weeks, and then I'm going to learn the next portion in 8 weeks. Where normally probably learn this in like a whole semester or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we pretty much covered 15 to 16 chapters of CNA 1 in 8 weeks. So I'm reading like 3 or 4 chapters a week and everything of
Mm.
that nature. So that's why I'm studying so much. And it's like now that I'm getting to the home stretch, I'm like I can kind of ease up and everything, and I'm thankful like get to play some video games again and stuff like that for like maybe 2 weeks before I dive back into the books.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's enough about me. How was your week?
Well, sorry, I wanted to say one more thing though.
Yeah.
The uh, so the exam, right? You're going to take it in November, and let's
Hmm.
let's say you pass. You have to do it every 3 years after that, right? Keep it up to date.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would
But
imagine you're not going to go through this every single time, though, right?
no, no, no. For what I gathered, right, a lot of people just want you to do it one time, and you have
Yeah.
it on your resume, and then
Yeah.
you get a job in that experience, and that kind of carries you throughout your career or
Right.
whatever the case may be. So the next time I may have this push is when I go for my CCNP, and then I might be stressed out again in like 3 more years.
Hmm.
Then I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. And then eventually when I get my CCIE, uh, which is the super hard one, which I have to study 2 years for that one. They said that's the estimated study for that is 2 years. Um, that one's going to be a super stressful one for me.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
yeah.
Well, I'm in the opposite world of you, man. I've been gaming, and more gaming the past week since we last recorded. I've beaten 2 games, which I mean, I'm sure the audience will hear that and be like, "What the fuck what is going on?" So I'll get into that when we get into what we've been playing. But so I'm having a grand old time at the beginning of 2024 here, and I'm excited to talk about it. So, um, all right, Montrell, let's not waste any more time here. We do have a lot to get through, and I'd like to not be here for 4 hours today. So, um, for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montrell, now let us actually get into what we've been playing. So you're saying you haven't played anything. Obviously, I know that's not true. You played some League with me a little bit the other day. But outside of that, you've been playing Helldivers mostly?
Yeah, I just been playing Helldivers. I played the Final Fantasy VII demo. Didn't know that if you play the demo, it carries over to your actual game when you buy it.
Yeah.
So I think I'm actually going to try to finish the demo. It's just man, they really want you to do a lot of unnecessary shit. At least to me.
Yeah, you and DJ are very down on this game right now.
Well, I just don't. I don't like, and this is for personal reasons for my situation. Obviously, I come home. I don't get home sometime till like 6 o'clock or whatever. God forbid I gotta go to work, right? So,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, not work, but school. So I don't get home sometimes until like 11 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
So if I get home, take a shower, eat, and then I got maybe an hour to play a video game or whatever. I don't want to jump into Cloud's fucking hometown. Oh, I'm gonna play the fucking piano for Tifa. Like, I don't want to do that, bro. I want to fight people.
Yeah.
Like, I want to experience the combat.
You want to make progress in the game, yes.
Yeah, and that's what the game's making you do. And they have a lot of sections, like the beginning. Now, granted, it may just be me, right? It may only be like 30 minutes or whatever of that shit. But to me, that 30 minutes is valuable. Like, I want to do something meaningful in that 30 minutes.
Yeah, you should be playing something like Prince of Persia right now. Or
Yeah.
you already did, but Granblue Fantasy Relink would be perfect.
And that's why I beat that game, because I was like, it's a perfect jump in. We get straight to the story, and then we jump out.
Yeah.
With this game, it's like they want to explain stuff and they want to do all this stuff, and I'm like, I understand you're trying to set up the narrative for me and everything of that nature. But I don't know. It's just a weird game. And then on top of that, I will talk about that game as well for the demo. So the game, I think, is at odds with itself, and I blame the community for this. People hated Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy 16. And which is funny because I think Final Fantasy VII was going in that direction. Like, I don't think they're going to do it anymore. I think the next game, the third game, is not going to be action. It's going to be maybe more geared towards like the turn-based style of combat or whatever the case may be. But this one, you have launchers and stuff like that, and you can do air combos, but it's like automatic, almost Kingdom Heartish in a way. But you don't have control of Cloud like you do of Sora. So you can't jump or anything like that. Like, he automatically does some of this stuff.
You can't jump. Wait, you can't jump?
At least in my experience, you can dodge, but you can't do an actual physical jump. Like, I would check that. Like I said on my Twitter, I have to get back into the lab, but you can't do a jump or whatever, right? So you and Sephiroth, you'll do a combo. You guys can do combos and stuff like that. So if you mash square at the end of your combo, you launch the enemy up in the air, and you can actually like freeze time and then do another move, like one of your special moves, your ATB moves, and they
in the air, right?
In the air, and they will like transfer to Cloud, but he will automatically like jump and do it or whatever, depending on the move. And then I heard other people say like, well, if you dodge back and then go forward, he would do a jump and then launch with them and then launch in the air with them as well, or something like that. So it's like I gotta. The game really doesn't explain it well to you in the demo. So I gotta play with it a little bit more. But yeah, I'm like the game's at odds with itself because people were saying that Final Fantasy 16 is a button masher, right? This game is literally the definition of a button masher, in my opinion. I
Mm,
was just like, it kind of has like I said, I get into the weeds a little bit more or whatever. But as far as action combat, it is a button masher, but it is trying to blend the best of both worlds. Now you can also have a setting on there where you can go automatic to where the characters will attack automatically, and then you just do the commands like
mm,
the ATB commands and stuff like that, and healing and
yeah,
everything of that nature.
yeah,
Um, which I think is like it reminds me of the vision they had when they made like Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy VII. This is the vision they kind of had, but they didn't have the technology to do it, right?
right,
That
yeah,
real time battle system where the game is constantly going, regardless if you want to do something or not.
mm,
Um,
mhm.
and like I appreciate it. I don't think the game's bad or anything like that. I just think right now the headspace that I'm in right now is not the game for me, and that's why I personally am bagging on it because it's just like I'm not in the mental headspace to handle a game like this. Now
Well, it
next
sounds like
week,
neither of you are. DJ's
yeah,
got, the newborn, so he's like, in the same boat with
yeah, this
time.
game is
So
definitely not for people who want to jump in
yeah,
and play the
it's
game.
forcing you to smell the roses.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like once you actually dig into the game and you get to like the open field part or whatever the case may be, then that's when I can just jump in,
Mm,
grind, and do some quest or whatever, and then jump out or whatever the case may be. But for right now,
mm,
it's setting up the narrative and everything of that nature.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, and then, like I said, I've been playing Helldivers. Uh, Nothing too much. They fixed the game as far as I jumped straight in. This is peak hours. I jumped in at 5 o'clock, which is like peak hours right now, or
mhm,
when I got home at 5:30. I'm sorry, and I was able to get right in. The AFK thing really worked. It probably knocked a lot of people off Steam, and a lot of people off PlayStation. I truly believe what I believe was that people were going into rest mode in their PlayStation
yeah,
and they were just standing in the lobbies, and that's what was happening. That's in my opinion, that's what was happening.
yeah,
And now this is forcing you to log off after 15 minutes, which I think is a viable, um, which I think is viable, or whatever the case may be.
mm,
Um, and yeah, I mean that's those are pretty much the only two games I've been playing. I do have Prince of Persia on my radar. I got Sea of what's it called? Sea of Tears, Sea of Trails, whatever the fuck it's called. I also got Trials of Mana. So there's a lot of other games I want to play.
oh, Sea of
Um,
Stars.
Sea of Stars, yeah, I got Sea of Stars.
Yeah,
Um, I got Trials of Mana and and everything of that nature that I want to play. So I do have some games. Also have like Rune Factory as well.
mm,
I have
mhm,
Harvestella that I want to play. So I have a lot of games that I just really want to play. I was
yeah,
going to play Persona 3. I
yeah.
just don't
That's
think I have the
not
headspace for
the
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's not the one, dude. If
Yeah.
you're trying to get out of this space, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for me though.
Gotcha. Okay. Um. Well, yeah, so I'll start with League, I guess. So we played a little bit of League last week, like 2 different days. One of them was miserable. Lost like every game, and then the other one we only played 2 games. One loss, we lost pretty hard, and then the other one was victory where we won really hard. I just don't know where I'm at with League right now. Like, it just feels like nobody really wants to play it for whatever
I,
reason. Our group
I
is like
want to play it. I just don't have the time.
time. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I know. And maybe, like you said, maybe the next couple weeks will be a little different for you. But yeah, it was. I'm enjoying the game. I do like where the game is at for the most part. I know you had mentioned the map that you're not really a big fan of the map changes, and I sort of agree. I think they've opened the map up too much, like I think there's almost too many paths through it
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point, and this isn't Dota, where Dota has like a million paths through the map, but the game is like super open in that regard. It's always been that way. League's not really supposed to be that way, I guess. I feel like there should be a little bit more, it should be tighter. I feel like the bottom portion of the map is just a fucking mess now. um, and I'm not a big fan of it as a bot laner. I kind of wish it looked more like top, to be frank. And I know people are gonna say, oh well, you're like taking ganking out of the fucking game or whatever. It's like No, but it shouldn't be as easy to do as it is right now. I mean, we've literally, like, me and Montreal had a game where level one, dude, level one, people came from out of our tri bush and fucking ganked us from behind, dude. Like, it was it's so fucking
I
stupid.
mean, they
Like
lost
that.
that game, but yeah, they did do that.
Yeah, and it was this dumb comp or whatever down on bottom, but still they did that and they got a kill on us. It's just such a dumb. It's not a fun way. I just think the map's too open in that regard. Like that shit should not be possible to do at level one. You should not be able to come from the enemy side of the map and do a gank through their fucking tower, without actually taking a tower shot, or two. So
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off that, even if there were people were saying like, "Oh, you're taking ganking out of the game," I think people forgot the meta we came from, where the meta was, you remember that one weird meta where it was people were literally just sitting bot lane?
yeah, oh
Like
yeah,
like
yeah. It kind of
XP in the
feels like
jungle
that a little
didn't
bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
like XP in the jungle didn't matter at one point for 1 or 2 patches, and
yeah,
people were just like literally like it was one game with me and you where Zinzao was just sitting in the bush waiting for us. He sat there for like 3 minutes, like no joke, and did not
yeah,
move.
yeah.
And I think they end up still winning that game. And like I was just like, what's the point of jungling? So yeah, I totally agree. I think bot um I, they can't do another map adjustment, but they need to do something to where they can
Well,
either
they
add
can
a
do a
bush.
map adjustment. They can tighten it up a little bit. It's not that difficult to do. Like,
Yeah,
they can just, I don't know. Like, I think it's too open. There in the opening over there needs to be closer to the tower, and I think that needs to be true on the blue side too. I never felt like the blue side was fair either, like,
yeah,
so I think they need to change both of those things. I don't think they need to go to the extreme of where top is, where the opening on top is like you are walking directly through the tower and probably eating 3 or 4 shots before you get through it. But yeah, but it should be a little bit more significant than it is, I think.
yeah. And I will say, I think despite when I do play top lane, I feel like it's a little bit more safer for me. It is a 1v1 land, and I like the way they have top conditioned that way. If the jungler is coming for me, I can see the jungler. It's usually just my fault that I didn't,
You didn't ward,
see
yeah.
the yeah, I didn't ward. So I don't know.
Yeah. Um, Outside of that, played a little bit of Turtle WoW. I got to level 41 on my hunter. I think I only played like one session this week though, so I'm kind of slowing down a lot on this because the whole group is not. There's really nobody playing in it at this point. Um, Brad has continued to look for other games to play that aren't World of Warcraft. It's just it's become an incredible thing to watch at this point. He's like trying to convince us to play the StarCraft 2 thing with him. I just don't. I can't do it. I can't do it anymore, man. So let me get into the 2 games that I beat. So I finished Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Um, and I got through the last boss, finished it. I got the platinum in this game. So pretty much 100%ed it for the most part. And yeah, man, this game is fucking great. I think this is a really good Metroidvania. I like this game a lot personally. Whether other people think it's a great Metroidvania or not, I don't care. To me, it is. And I think I think they nailed the things about a Metroidvania that matter. The story is not good. The cutscene animations and stuff like that are not really good either. However, the game when you're playing the game and you're controlling Sargon, he controls flawlessly. He's super
Hmm.
tight. It's super tight to control him. I love the movement, the traversal mechanics in the game. I think a lot of the platforming puzzles are really, really good in this game. There's some really fun ones that they play around with. There's actually this one section where you have to do a few of these where um, there's like I guess mirror versions of Sargon. So you get this timer set and you have to like go do something. Basically, they'll present a room to you and there'll be an end point you have to get to, but there'll be all these like doors and levers and platforms that you need to make. Like they'll be like, let's say they'll be in the wall or something, so you can't jump on them, and you have to like figure out how to pull them out of the wall. And like the first one, maybe you get like 1 or 2 platforms going, and then the second one, that will enable you to get up to a switch that opens the door that lets you get to the final room that you're trying to get to, the objective. And then the third one is you using what you did with the first 2 to try to traverse the entire room to get to it. It's very interesting, cool puzzles. And there's a few of those. So they do some unique things in the game that I really liked. And I think the boss fights are actually definitely a highlight in this game. I think there's four in particular that I felt really, I think are really good fights. If I had been streaming this game and you had heard me during those fights, you would have felt like I fucking hated them because I'm like screaming at the TV like, this is bullshit, fuck this fight, God, fuck. But like when I was finished with it and I beat it after several attempts, it's like, man, that was a really good boss fight. Like it feels fair. You know, when I died, it was my fault. It wasn't bullshit. Everything is kind of avoidable. It's just you need to like actually play well and be patient. And it's interesting in a game that's where your character is such an aggressive attacker, that they kind of make the boss fights like that. So but it worked out really well. The four in particular I'm thinking of are mostly the humanoid bosses that you fight. There's one of them that's like a kind of a combo humanoid beast boss. That one's really good as well. So really enjoyed all of those. But yeah, I think this game's a great time. I honestly, Montreal, I think you'll like it a lot, dude. I really recommend it to you, especially in the headspace you're in right now. I just think you'll play for an hour and you will actually make a lot of progress.
Okay.
Like you'll get through like a huge portion of an entire area. And that will feel pretty good. So I think the game is excellent. It's probably 20 to 25 hours to like fully complete it, to like if you wanted to 100% it or get the platinum. But it's not that demanding in that regard. And yeah, I got to give Ubisoft props on this, man. I'm glad that they made a game like this, and I am very hopeful that there's another one coming at some point, like they actually move into a sequel. Maybe not with Sargon necessarily, but with a different character in a different type of abilities and stuff like that, but the same like 2.5D side scrolling style. Yeah, so I just think it's a really really good game. Enjoyed it a lot. So the second game I played was Granblue Fantasy Relink. I got into this on Sunday, like Sunday evening, and I beat this game earlier today over my lunch, and
Nice.
man, yeah, so I played it a lot, obviously. I think I probably put about 20 hours into it over those 5 days. So I was like really pushing to beat this game. It's pretty much all I've been doing the entire week. But I will say it's funny when the game started on Sunday, like I started it on Saturday before people came over. I think I played for like 15 minutes and I was just doing the initial cutscenes and stuff. And the game actually immediately turned me off, because it is so jarring the way this game opens that it doesn't give you any context for who anybody is, where you are, what you're doing, why you have an airship, why you have a crew, any of that stuff. It doesn't explain any of that shit. It just kind of expects you to be already aware of the Granblue universe and like know who these characters are, like you've played the mobile game already.
Hmm.
That was so jarring to me that it took me a couple hours to kind of like get over that feeling. I think that approach was really strange. I don't know why. I really don't know why they did that with this game, but the the game itself, so the game is short. It's probably a 15-hour 20-hour game at most. It's probably 15 actually if you really rush through it and you don't take your time. I was actually kind of taking my time a little bit with it, which is funny to say that I beat it in 5 days, but it was I was doing all the side quests as they were coming up and all the like the missions you could go on as they were coming up, and a lot of that stuff. So but yeah, the game is this game's kind of interesting hearing people talk about it, because I feel like it's actually kind of divisive. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't like it very much. And then there's a lot of people who do, and I think there's kind of a split in terms of which side you land on. I definitely land more on the side of that. I actually really like the game. I think there's a really good foundation here for more. I think the issue, I guess the issue with the game is why it took so long to make this game, though, for the company side games. I know, like we talked about this on the show before, that had Platinum working on the game at first, and then they took them off the game and took it over themselves internally at some point.
Mhm.
And I don't know what that entailed, and I would love to know, and we're probably never going to actually know, but I would love to know what happened there. Like, why was that must have been a really seismic thing they had to overcome as a like a development team making this game, because they were working on this game for like 8 years, and this game is not large enough nor robust enough to justify it taking that long. There is not a ton of content in this game, and obviously the main story is really short too. So I'm just like kind of puzzled by that. As I played the game, I'm like, why was this game in development for so damn long? Like, what was the problem? Like, there had to have been something catastrophic going on behind the scenes. Whether it was the engine or something core to the game that was really fucking broken that they needed to fix, and they just couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's not robust enough of a game to justify the dev cycle here. But yeah, anyways, back on the game. So talking about the story first. So the story is I'd say it's kind of ultimately like kind of whatever. It's very like friendship saves the day type JRPG narrative that we've experienced a million times at this point. And especially by the end of the game, it is so hammy that I was just like, oh my god, dude. It's like just get on with it. All right. Yeah, friendship is everybody friendship's gonna beat the villain and beat the gods and whatever. It's just so it's like so silly. It gets like so silly in that regard towards the end of the game. But I will say though, the actual universe here, like of Granblue, is very intriguing. I like the whole sky islands, and the world exists in the sky and we don't really know what's underneath the sky. Um Concept. I do enjoy that, and I like the airships, and even the aesthetic of this whole universe is really good. Like I enjoy that element to it. But yeah, the I don't know, it feels like this game, my kind of assumption here is they have the mobile game, which I've never played, but I can kind of assume how it's structured based on playing this game. That it's a gotcha game. So I've played
Mhm.
plenty of gotcha games, and I kind of understand how these games are. Right? They need to go on forever, basically, to justify creating more characters and selling you new characters and all this shit over and over and over and over again. So this game to me feels like it literally could have been inserted into the mobile game as like one chapter, basically. That is kind of my assumption with how this game came about and what the story is and where it slots into the greater universe. I think it's just like one episode of a TV show, basically, that has been ongoing for fucking, nearly 10 years with Granblue. I think it came out in 2014. Um, so in that regard, it feels that way. It feels very it feels like an episode of a television show that's like part of a greater whole. It does not feel like its own thing, really. Which I think is a negative for the game, and I think that's might be why a lot of people bounced off of it or did not enjoy it necessarily, is because if you're not in that headspace and you're not really ready to, like, you don't understand it in that way, or you haven't experienced Granblue, it's like you're kind of just like being pulled along, and it's like, who are these people? It's like, who are these characters? Like, what is the context for all this? Like, what are all these like terms that they're using in the game, like primal beasts and like all the fucking skydoms and all this shit that they're saying, and it's like these are like specific terms within this universe that mean something, but it's like the game doesn't explain any of that, really. Like, especially the main story definitely does not explain any of this shit. It kind of just expects you to like understand it immediately, and I think that was a really, unfortunately, I think it was a bad approach. I don't know why they decided to approach it like this. Like, this game was not designed to bring new players into the Granblue universe. This game feels like it was designed for Granblue players, which is a much smaller group of people. So I do continue to be puzzled by that as I got deeper into the game. But I will say there is a little bit. They have the like Fate episodes or whatever that you can watch, and then a couple of them are like quests that you go on that are like very short, where they kind of give you a little bit of peek into some of the characters. There's a little bit of explaining their past and giving you some context of like pre this game's story, but it's not super deep. It's very short. It's probably like a minute of dialogue, for the most part. Certain characters get a little bit more exposition about their past than others, though. So I don't know why they didn't use that idea, the Fate episodes, more to kind of like recontextualize some of the things from the game, like the mobile game rather, and actually like have a mission you're going through where there's actually like dialogue and characters talking, and you can kind of play through this and you'll learn more about the character and how they met the crew or something like that. Obviously, that would have taken a lot of dev time, obviously to make something like that, to actually make a level and have voice acting and everything and all this stuff and the set pieces and all that. However, given how long the game was in development, like I would have almost expected something more like that than what we got, where it's these really short, just spoken, kind of blurts of text. It's like, so I don't know why. I don't know. It's just that's what's so weird about this game to me, is like the dev cycle surrounded by what the content is and how much there is of it. Just it kind of continues to baffle me in that regard. But so yeah, story's okay. It's just your typical JRPG stuff, but it's not like bad necessarily in that regard. I do think the characters are likable. I certainly do like the cast. I do think it's a fun group, for sure. And I think the concept is certainly strong, but um, I don't know, like if they were gonna do a Granblue Fantasy Relink 2, would it just be like this again, or I would kind of would want it to be a little bit more robust than this, I guess. Is my thought on that. But in terms of gameplay, I think the gameplay is actually where the game is the strongest and where I'm enjoying it the most. The game is not that deep, I guess. Like at first blush, it's really not that deep. It's easy to wrap your head around, especially if you're playing, the default characters that you get access to. They mostly just have a single button combo, with the square button, but most of them have a triangle, a power kind of assigned a triangle that's unique to each character that does a certain thing. So that might, depending on the character, that will enable a deeper combo system, which I found interesting, that they went deep enough that every character kind of has unique combo strings. But some of them, obviously the casters are a little bit more straightforward. But there's a lot of characters that have like some deep combo trees, like not like hyper deep, but it's like they might have 7, 8, 9 unique combos that you can do depending on the button combinations that you're doing. And I found that interesting for sure. Which is like, it's just funny how many characters there are. And it's like, that's where I think the game's dev time went, is that they made like 20 characters that you can play, um, and that is the part I don't know why they did that, because they don't even give you enough crewmate cards to get all these characters before you beat the game. Like you get maybe 5 or 6 by the time you finish the game, and there's probably 13 or 14 characters you can bring on board. And so yeah, you can get less than half of them before the end of the game. And um they're all really unique though, like most of them, like they all kind of play very differently. So their decision making with some of the content is just weird to me. They really focus on weird things. I feel like because I can feel the gotcha game energy in this game, you know what I mean, Montreal, like
Yeah,
the number
that's
of
why I wanted you.
characters.
That's why I
Yeah.
wanted you to play it. I
Yeah.
thought it was just me. I don't understand what the game's trying to go for. It seems like,
Oh, this is a AAA game made by a gotcha game developer for sure.
yeah,
Like
but it seems like they wanted to put gotcha game elements in it, but then took it out at the last
they
minute.
may have. That's very possible, dude. Like they may have had a gotcha in this game at some point and they just decided to take it out because they didn't think it would appeal to people. And it's possible maybe the game went under really heavy redesign where it was like monetized at some point, maybe, or they had other plans in terms of like content and stuff, and they wanted to make it maybe more of a live service game, and they decided against that. I could see all that being true. Because yeah, the number of characters in the game is really puzzling to me. Like I don't know why there are 20 playable characters. That is insane for any single player JRPG. Like, can you imagine a Tales game with that many playables like on it? Like that would be fucking nutty to have a party that
Yeah,
large.
and I don't feel like the content is there to
Justifies it.
justify it. Yeah.
Not at all.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. I don't know, man. It's just a really weird thing. When I was playing the game, I was just like, maybe I feel too weird about it because I know it's comes from a gotcha background. But I do remember like Platinum wanting to get into like live service and gotcha stuff.
Hmm.
So maybe they were making what they thought they were gonna make, and then at the
Yeah.
last minute, side games are just like, no, we don't want this. We're gonna take it over ourselves, or whatever the case may be. I don't know.
But all the
Um,
characters had already been designed and created and put in the
exactly,
game. So they
exactly.
didn't want to take them all out. Like they were just like, yeah, just leave them in.
Yeah,
But I almost feel like they should have taken some out because I think it's overwhelming. It's not, you can't preview them before you decide to take them into your crew. So you're basically just guessing at which one is going to be the most fun for you. Which I happen to guess correctly in my case. But if you don't, well, GG to you, bro. You should start the game over. I basically, because yeah, it's not really clear how the characters play until you get into the tester and like start messing around with them. But you can't do that until you take them in, like you actually like
yeah, and that to me is
confirm.
real gotcha. I don't
Yes,
know.
yeah,
To
I
me, that's
know.
real gotcha. Uh,
That is such a weird thing. That little detail to me indicates this game was different at some point. Like I think they had a different structure and they just didn't fix that
uh,
little detail because it should be
I
in the
mean,
reverse.
yeah, not to hound on it, but like, what do you think? Do you think the change of the industry or the atmosphere and the whole economy and everything, you think all that changed their minds? Because I mean, this game was in development for about I mean, shit, yeah, 4 or 5 years. And
Well, they may
what do
have
you think
realized.
that shift happened? Like 2 years ago, maybe it had
No,
to.
I think it probably was closer to when Platinum got taken off, maybe. But it could have been 2 or 3 years ago too. They might have realize, like, I think the problem they would have run into if they had tried to do the gotcha thing, because remember Xenoblade did that, the whole gotcha system in the game. But
Yeah,
Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is a 100+ hour game, that has a fuck ton of content and plenty of time for you to interact with that gotcha. Whereas Granblue Fantasy Relink is a 15-hour game where you would have been able to pull a few characters, and if you didn't get anything you liked, you would have hated the game. You would have been like, well, fuck this. Like
yeah,
I just want to play Narmaya, and I got fucking Lancelot. It's like, you know. And I think that would have felt really bad for players, and I think they realized that, and decided to take it out at a certain point. And maybe they just decided they wanted to make a package that had value, that was straightforward, and they didn't want to nickel and dime people, and create mechanics that felt like they were fucking with people, like, and I could see that too. It's just really bizarre how it all ends up, because it feels like a game that's in the shadow of a gotcha, because you have twice as many characters available to you than you do default party members, and those available characters do not interact in the story beyond one-liners they drop in the middle of a combat, generally. So they're not part of cutscenes, they're not in any of that stuff, so they're literally just there kind of as like additional, they feel like DLC characters, that aren't integrated into the story in that way. So it ends up being very weird, and it just feels, yeah, it totally feels like there was something else here planned, and they decided to go in a different direction, possibly last minute, which might explain why the game took so long, because this game was supposed to come out. Dude, this game was supposed to come out in, like, I don't know, 2019, 2020, and then it was supposed to come out in 2021, 2022. Remember, like, we kept reporting on this game and talking about it, and I kept bringing it up, and then it would just kept getting delayed and delayed, and then it just felt indefinite, like it was never going to come out. And then eventually in August they just dropped the date, and it was like it just almost kind of came out of nowhere. So
yeah.
um
The
yeah,
simple fact that they just did that means like they had to redesign the fuck out of this game.
yeah.
There, I don't know. Like you said, I like the game, but there were definitely, I was playing it. I was like, this just seems fucking weird. Especially like with the materials, the way you upgrade the items and the way you get the items.
Hmm.
Everything just seemed. And I don't even play gotchas. I'm like, this seems super gotcha ish.
Well, it's like a
And then
mobile game. The quests are super short. They're
yeah,
literally a minute or two, you know?
yeah,
Like once you
yeah,
get into the quest, like you're done with them in a minute or two. And I'm like,
yeah.
I actually like that personally in the way this game is. I just like how fast everything is about the game. You know, it doesn't really waste your time, and I do enjoy that. But when they were showing the game, I kind of expected these to be much longer, like 10, 15 minute quests, almost Monster Hunter ish, you know, in terms of
Yeah,
their
and
length
that's
and
what people try to
design.
compare it to, and I was just like, this is not Monster Hunter-ish.
It's
I
like a
don't
bite size. It's like a very bite size fast Monster Hunter. You know, like it's where it's like really quick quests. Because you go to a quest board and you select quests like in a menu the same way you would in Monster Hunter, and then you say you're ready and you get teleported to the quest. You know, it's like the same kind of structure in that regard. But when you get into the quest, it's very short. You know, it's not like you're not doing anything robust within the quest. It's just very straightforward. You know.
yeah.
So I feel like they're like that because that I don't know that's the energy I get is like they wanted to make like a JRPG Monster Hunter game that might have been an online game, and they kept the online in there, but they didn't make it like super robust, you know. And it's also not necessary at all to play the game that way, which is interesting because yeah, the whole quest board thing is really weird to me the way it's implemented because it feels like a different game, you know? It's like the single player, the story is like one game, and then the questing system is a different game, and they just kind of put them together, you know? And yeah, that's just I don't know. That's my thing. I think a lot of these things are jarring to people. I don't personally have a big issue with any of it. It's all coalesced to me in a way that I found enjoyable. Um, because like you're talking about, like in terms of time, right now, I just enjoy the fact that this game kind of it almost feels like the game respects my time. You know, it's not like
Yeah.
making me grind overly crazy. Like, you gain levels like nothing in this game. Like, it's so fucking fast. You know, it's like you're getting like 4 levels in a mission that takes you 30 minutes. You know, to do like the main story missions. You're getting like 4 to 6 levels probably in that time frame. It's crazy, dude. Like you're leveling every few minutes. You know, so which is not typical for JRPGs. That's not really normal. You know, it's like it's not usually that fast. So I do think the game is just like I don't know. It's got a lot of weird, disparate parts that come together and it forms like a cohesive whole. But you can tell there's like a I think there's like a soul in the game somewhere that they just lost. They lost it, you know, at some point. Like it's just not totally coherent, you know. I don't think it all came together perfectly well. But the so getting back, I was talking about the combat though. The actual combat, the system is cool. This game reminds me of Final Fantasy more than anything. Actually, in terms of story and gameplay, a lot. Obviously, it doesn't have like a the MMO like tab targeting style or anything like that. But it is an action game. But the boss battles are very Final Fantasy 14 though. With the they give you like the circles on the floor and they show you where the attacks are coming. The problem that I did find in this game later on is especially with some of the later bosses, the way they do the showing you where attacks are is really doesn't cohesively connect with attacks that aren't shown where they're going to go, you know. So you'll be fighting a boss, right, and it'll shoot this attack where it'll shoot like I don't know 12 fireballs and they'll go in the air and then they're going to land on the ground. But so those will show you red circles on the ground, right? But then the boss will actually just attack you at the same time with like a claw attack, but it doesn't tell you where that's coming from. Obviously, the boss just kind of comes towards you and attacks. So those two things together don't actually work that well to me. Because you're like conditioned for the game to tell you where to go, you know, where to be, like what's a safe place to stand. But then at the same time, you need to be paying attention to the monster animations and like your hitbox, like where you are, and then dodge or block or whatever, based on that. So it's like I feel like the game works at times and doesn't work at times in terms of the combat too. It's I don't know. It's a strange system. I don't know if those two things are like because like later in the game, dude, like some of the boss fights later get so crazy with how much like projectile shit is getting thrown at you, and then the boss is actually swiping at you at the same time, and it's just really difficult to actually avoid everything. But the game is really easy. So it's like it's got a really forgiving death system where you don't actually lose the battle unless you have this like meter. When somebody goes down, there's this meter that like constantly ticks down. It's called a critical meter. And unless that meter goes down to 0, you don't lose the fight. You can just revive your party members for free. There's no repercussions to that, basically. So it's like I feel like the game is really easy because of that mechanic. If you actually couldn't get revived without an item or something or a spell, I actually think this game would be really fucking hard. Actually, in
Yeah,
the opposite regard.
yeah,
Um, so it's like because I just felt like later on I'm just like constantly dying. Like I'm getting killed in like 2 hits. It's like, and I'm on level. I'm on level and above level in some regards for some of the boss fights too. And it's like I'm still dying in like 2 hits.
yeah.
Um,
I think the leveling comes in place with the gear as well that you have and everything of that nature. I
mhm.
don't know. The game just seems real gotcha like, and
Yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
I definitely agree that the game was easy for me. When I was playing it, it was easy as hell. So I was just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just good at the game, but no, it's just super easy.
Well, it's just easy because of the revive mechanic. Like if they changed the revive mechanic, it would totally change how hard the game is to me. You know, because it's almost impossible in some of the later boss fights to evade everything. There's just so much shit going on. And honestly, the enemies are some of the enemies move really fast too. Like they're quick, and they're hitting you really hard, at the same time too. So I'm almost afraid to go into multiplayer because I feel like I'm just going to be constantly dying. It's like, and people are going to be like, "What the fuck? Like, fuck this guy," kind of thing. And maybe I'm just like bad at this game. I don't know, or I'm too aggressive. I'm trying to attack too much because some of the bosses don't give you very large windows to hit them. How the boss fights tend to go is like you will you'll fill that like blue bar that like staggers them real quick, and you'll hit the link attack, and then eventually you will break them, which will give you a gigantically massive window to get in a bunch of free hits, and you'll do like 50% of the boss's health and damage, in that window, and then you don't attack again for another 2 minutes because the boss is just running around fucking constantly attacking. So some of the boss designs too are a little annoying in that regard, I guess, as well. But it's like it's still a fun game though. It's like that moment to moment gameplay is still fun. Like I'm enjoying that moment to moment gameplay, despite the things that I'm saying. I like the movement. I like the way the characters control. I like the capabilities of the characters. I like the depth within each character, kind of each their own like kits that they have and everything. I
Mhm.
think it's like surprisingly robust in that regard. But again, just going back to the characters, it's just like there's too many characters. You can't play them all. So
Yeah,
realistically, so yeah, I think it's a really good game in just like the basics. Like the basics feel good. It's just whether all these things will come together and feel good to you. Your mileage is really going to vary for you. I can't predict the type of person that's going to like this game. That's how weird it is. I can't sit here and say that like, oh, if you like JRPGs, you're going to like Granblue Fantasy Re. You might not. you know like you might hate this game, honestly. I almost feel like it's like if you like gotchas, you'll probably like this game. I don't know. That's how I feel about it, actually. Which is interesting. So, and then the progression systems are also interesting. You obviously your characters level up, but when they level up, they don't get they just get stats, but they will get these skill points called MSP is what the game calls it. But you get MSP from a lot of sources. You get it from quests, you get it from chests, you get it from killing certain monsters. You get it from all sorts of stuff, side quests that you turn in as well, and that is your primary progression path. For each individual character because they all have a skill tree that you go through, and it unlocks at certain points of the game. You'll be kind of blocked in your progression until you get to a certain point, and then you can continue. But there, so every character has that skill tree, but then there's also the weapon upgrading system, which is very, very gotcha energy on the weapon upgrade system. Like it is, dude. It is like right out of like fucking like I'm thinking of like Final Fantasy Brave Exvius or some shit. Oh my
Yeah.
fucking god, dude! Like it's you have to level the weapons with the characters, and then you have to uncap the level of the weapon, and you need specific materials that you can only get from certain enemies at certain times in the game. After you've progressed a certain amount, and it gets progressively more and more grindy. Like it takes more and more materials as you play the game, but it does remind me of Genshin actually a little bit too with the artifact system, in terms of leveling artifacts, like how deep that goes. And it's so yeah, it's there's definitely flashes of a gotcha game in here for sure. And I think they decided to take all that out and reevaluate it and kind of rebuilt the game in a different form at some point later in development. But it came together and it was an enjoyable game. I'm glad I played this game. I don't know how much longer I'm going to play it for. I did beat it. I'm in the epilogue. I'm probably going to finish the epilogue for sure, but I don't know how far I'm going to go beyond that, like getting into the post game stuff. I think that's the other thing that I find weird about the game is I don't know how you feel about this, but like the story feels like a tutorial, in the sense of that when you beat the game, you start unlocking all these mechanics that weren't available to you. Like you have this like the like ticket system where you can like turn these tickets in, and then you get this special system where you unlock the ability to get these like medals that you can get from doing quests randomly, like a random quest or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like all these things unlock after you beat the game, and I'm like, why did you wait until you beat the game to introduce all these elements? Because it's like, do you feel like the players would have been overwhelmed beforehand, or what? Because the game is really simplistic during the story. It's very straightforward. There's very little for you to do outside of the main story missions. Um,
Yeah. I just feel like they really didn't know what to do with the game, so they just
yeah,
made the game what it is. Like I don't know. It's yeah, it's kind of hard. That's why it was so hard for me to describe it when I was trying to explain it. A couple of weeks ago when I played it, because it's just a very hard game to describe. Like the missions to me feel like almost Neo based, where they're like really
yeah,
bite sized missions. You run in, you
yes,
run out.
very
Uh,
linear. Yeah,
Very linear and everything like that. But then like the system but around it is very gotcha-ish, where it's like all these unnecessary materials and everything like that. And I don't know, the game just doesn't feel organized, in my opinion.
yeah.
And it's hard to explain what organized means, but I just don't like the way I don't like the gameplay loop after the game is finished. Like after the story is finished,
Oh,
even during
really?
the story, it was just really weird how they like, oh, you can do these missions, but also save the world. Like it's just like, do you want me to do the missions or do you want me to save the world? I don't know what you want me to do. And it was like during chapter like 7 or 8, where the like that city is on fire. You
Yeah.
can do missions doing that, and I'm like,
Yeah, I know. I know. I know. It's so weird, dude. Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, because you can leave and go to Folka. I actually think I did that. Like, you can go to Folka and like do a bunch of missions there, and there's actually side quests to get at that point. Like after that chapter starts and
yes.
stuff too. So there's
So
no urgency to anything
yeah,
you're doing.
it's just so weird. I don't I personally don't get it, but I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it's not really for me to get. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the post game feels like it's mostly just grinding mission, like grinding the 5-minute missions or whatever over
Yeah.
and over, and you like increase your rank, and then that unlocks new progression stuff, and you just rinse and repeat until you get to max level, basically. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting with it. And like they almost turn it into a online game. I feel like after the game is over, or that's what they want to do. Is that they want you to go play co-op and like progress that way. But it's like probably totally unnecessary to do that. So I don't know. It's just it is weird. It's like they were making like 3 different games or 4 different games at some point in development, and they had pieces of all of them come together to make what we actually ended up getting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting game. I don't think I would recommend buying it at full price. Like I think this is a excellent game to get for $20 in several months. And you blast through it in a weekend or two. I think it would be really good at that price. I don't know at full price if I'd really recommend it, to be honest.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't recommend it at full price. I mean, even though it was like a $50,
it's
$60 game,
$60. Yeah.
$60 game, I still can't recommend it at that price. I recommend just You know what? It's a good Black Friday pickup. That's what I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, both of these games, though, Prince of Persia, Granblue Fantasy, like I personally like them a lot. I have a feeling I will probably talk about both of them late in the year when we're doing our like game of the year episode. Like they'll probably both be in that conversation for me. Um, so yeah, I've personally enjoyed both of these games quite a bit, and yeah, it's been a great start to the year for me. I'm very excited. I mean, dude, Montrell, like right now, I'm almost getting overwhelmed again. Like thinking about all the games we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming out a week from today. Um, I've got Unicorn Overlord coming out the week after that. Then we have Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2 coming out on the same day. There's a game called Last Epoch that just came out. And that's an ARPG I've been like anticipating for quite a while. And I wasn't aware that it dropped until today. I just like happened to see it out there when I was like scrolling my Google feed, and I was like, "Oh my fucking god, dude!" So that one's out. And then there's another game we're going to talk about later in the show that I've been following for a long time that is coming out next week as well. So, dude, there's just like an absolute fucking like deluge of games coming right now, and so yeah, that's why I was happy with Granblue that it was so short. I was able to just kind of like get through it and knock it out,
Yeah.
and I can now kind of play it at my leisure at this point. So, all right, well, let's move on to the news, and we got a lot of news to get through. So let's get started with the Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday. So I did watch this, and it was not. We're not going to go through this game by game. It was just not that kind of direct. The announcements were not robust. This was they called it a partner showcase, which we haven't had one of those in a couple years. But they basically showed a bunch of third party games that are coming in the first half of the year for Switch. And this definitely this is the last year of our console energy kind of announcements for sure. But I'll just go through the things that I think are notable. Montreal, if there's anything I skip here, then just stop me and we can talk about it. But first thing they showed was Obsidian is Grounded coming, and then later on in the show, Pentiment. So these games are obviously the Xbox games that are going, to the other consoles, and Switch is getting those two specifically, Grounded and Pentiment. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk a little bit after this about the other games going to PlayStation and stuff, but yeah, I mean, this was I think this is what we predicted were the ones we thought we would go to Switch. I think we thought Hi-Fi Rush maybe too. Maybe that game they couldn't make that game work on Switch.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that Hi-Fi Rush is not on the Switch. I don't think it's that graphically intensive, but maybe there's a lot of stuff going on in the background with the beat of the music and fighting and everything like that.
Hmm.
That the Switch can't handle. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I didn't even think Grounded was gonna come. I did say last week that I think Grounded may come, but I thought that was a stretch. Um, but I definitely knew Pentiment was gonna come.
Yeah,
But yeah, Grounded was that's actually a choice. It makes sense. It's like a kid's game, and Switches are
yeah.
owned by a lot of children, so and it doesn't look that graphically and heavy.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean that makes sense.
It looks cool too, man. I don't know. Every time I see Grounded, I'm like intrigued by it. I'm like,
It definitely has
man,
a huge cult following.
yeah. I don't know. Someday I feel like it's gonna strike me and I'm gonna download it. On PC or something, but or maybe PlayStation at this point because it is coming there. Um, there's a new Super Monkey Ball game. I know you're a fan of the series. You excited about this one?
Yeah, I'm actually. I mean, it's one of those games where I'm like, I'm excited by it. It's nothing really to say though. Like, I can't
Yeah,
wait for the puzzles and stuff like
it
that.
just looks
It's
like a
like,
Super Monkey Ball game.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
brain teaser game. I like playing those games.
yeah,
So, um, yeah, I'm actually glad they're bringing it back. It's been a while. I mean, they did do a collection a couple of years back, or maybe like a year or two back. But yeah, I'm actually excited for this shit too.
yep. And then Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection was
Yeah,
shown.
that was
Yeah,
pretty weird to me. Not gonna lie to you. And the reason why it was so weird to me is because we already have if you have an Xbox, you can play Battlefront right now,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't play online. So them
But
bringing
you will be
online,
with this.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So them bringing online is kind of
Well,
crazy to
dude,
me.
I mean, this is coming to PlayStation. I think it's coming to PC probably as well, and then Xbox, I'm sure. But um, I mean, is this a game you want to play? I know you love this series, and I've never really played Battlefront, so
I tell everybody, like somebody else asked me that too. I was like, it's a nostalgic game, so you're gonna have to forgive the mechanics.
mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just, and you know what? For me, I'd never played online. I played everything offline.
Okay.
Yeah, so this would be my first experience playing it
So this will
online.
be, yeah. I know. I was like, I saw this, and I was like, man, the fact that there's online is crazy. I can't believe they're like doing that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know. I might be willing to check that out for sure. Let's see. Moving on. Disney Epic Mickey is getting a remake. This was a Wii game that was actually one of the better Wii games that came out during that console's life cycle. But any interest in this one for you?
Nah. I mean, I heard Epic Mickey was a really good game, but I just never really been into like Disney games. Unfortunately, I've
Mm-hmm.
never been a Disney type person at all. To
Yeah.
be honest with you,
Yeah.
I know like that has an insane following and people love Disney. And I'm just like, I never saw the appeal for Disney in my opinion. So
Yep.
yeah.
Um, Shin Megami Tensei 5 is getting a kind of a, Persona 5 Royal style re-release in Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance. So there's going to be like a new storyline coming to it. This game was pretty well received when it came out, so I still have it actually in the fucking wrap. I never unwrapped it. This was a game I really wanted to play and never really got around to it. So yeah, I don't know. I may just play the original at some point. I don't know if I need this additional content. It's like I need like a fucking 200-hour game or whatever the fuck. But any interest in this one for you?
Yeah, actually somebody told me like to just play that game instead of playing Persona. I think I actually may do that.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't bought the game, so and Shin Megami Tensei looks fun. I played Shin Megami Tensei 2 or
Yeah.
3. I can't remember which one. Wherever one had Dante in it, that's the one I played. And got absolutely shitted on by Dante because it was like really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But but yeah, that was the last time I played. I've never really been a Shin Megami Tensei type person. But this game actually looks really fun. Just because the older games, they didn't look like, I'm probably gonna get killed for this, but they didn't look, and I played them too, and they just weren't like, they were just standard JRPG. They were the standard JRPG, like turn based. You press this
Mm-hmm.
happens. Like it was Dragon Questy in my opinion. But this one looks like it's taking like more so the Persona route with the
Yeah.
JRPGs, with like the good menu style, and everything else is spiced up, but the combat, which is not pretty much Persona. Um, so I'm gonna give this one a chance and try to play it.
Okay. Fair enough. And then a couple games I want to shout out were Fantasy Life I. I don't know why, but these Fantasy Life games look really appealing to me. I've never played one, but it looks really cool. You're kind of playing like a Stardew Valley style, like you're building your own settlement type game. You're like living your life and like farming and shit like that. But there's also like combat elements in it as well, where
Mhm.
you can be like a wizard or a warrior or some shit or a ranger. So that one looks really interesting. And then this one, another Crab's Treasure. I recommend you check this one out if you didn't actually see it during the direct. This is they described it as a Souls-like game where you are a crab that is trying to get his shell back, and you wear things as your shell, and they give you different powers. And it looked really goofy. The energy of this looked really goofy. This looked really fun actually, and I'm probably not gonna check this out, but it's coming on April 25th. I think, but man, I don't know if I have time to fit it in. I might actually give it a shot because it looked really fun. Um,
Okay, I gotta check it out myself.
yeah. And then other than that, there was Endless Ocean Luminous, which I thought was going to be a remake of Endless Ocean, but it's actually just a new Endless Ocean game. Which Endless Ocean was a Wii game, where you basically just explore the ocean, essentially, and it's a very chill game. There's no like combat really or anything. You're just kind of floating around, exploring and like documenting why, like, sea life underwater.
Mm.
And that very much looks like the case here. There are some online elements where you can do that with other people now, I guess. And I always wanted to play that game, and never really got around to it. But looks very chill, very cool. Kind of a could be a fun game to kind of relax with, where you're just kind of exploring the ocean. But yeah, that was the last game they showed, so you can tell that this was definitely um not a robust Nintendo Direct when that was their kind of one more thing, um reveal at the end. So
Oh, that was there one more thing? Oh,
not
brother.
really. It wasn't presented that way. It was just the last game they showed, but they spent like 3 or 4 minutes on it.
Okay.
It was about 3 minutes actually. They spent about 3 minutes on it overall, and yeah, it was like way more time than they gave to any other game. Um, so yeah. Any interest in this one for you?
Probably not. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest with you.
yeah. Yeah, but that's pretty much it, man. It wasn't like a super robust. There was like a Gundam game they showed that actually looked decent ish, and then there's like a Sword Art Online game, which I mean, it looks like all the other fucking Sword Art Online games. And then there was South Park Snow Day, which is probably gonna be good if you like those South Park games, but it's actually an action game this time instead of a turn-based game though.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. So, anything else you want to talk about with the Nintendo Direct?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on. So, second story is part of the Nintendo Direct. The Xbox exclusives that Phil had mentioned, they've all been revealed, which ones are going and where they're going. So, this is the full list. So, Pentiment is going to PS4, PS5, and then Nintendo Switch on February 22nd. Hi-Fi Rush is going to PS5 only on March 19th. Grounded is going to PS4, PS5, and Nintendo Switch on April 16th. And then Sea of Thieves is going to PS5 only on April 30th. So we know the 4 games. They all fit what Phil said, and the predictions and the rumors around this were all correct about which games were coming. So no big surprise here, but any particular thoughts you have on this, Montrell? That this is actually finally happening?
Uh, I mean, it's good for everybody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's I don't know. It's just weird. It was not weird. It's just one of those things that's like it's finally happening, and now it's here. We kind of predicted that this was going to happen a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years ago, actually,
Yeah,
and I'm not too surprised, and I'm actually kind of surprised that everyone else is surprised.
yeah,
Uh, I don't know. Last week, that whole business update thing, and even the rumors that were dropping. I mean, we made a big deal out of it, but like as I sat down and thought about it, I was just like, I don't know why none of us were surprised that this was going to happen. They've been in the,
right.
in
This has
the,
been the messaging for a while. Like I feel like they've been hinting at it for like 2 years. And then the whole Activision case, kind of ripped the book open on what they were thinking about, and that they've been thinking about this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm
yeah.
not. I was actually thinking about it a little bit more deeply though, and like thinking about more long term is like, man, it's like, is this like Xbox like proverbially throwing in the towel though against PlayStation?
I
Like,
don't
is it?
think so.
Because dude, like when you look at the console sales numbers that we know right now, they're bad, dude. Like it's this Xbox has sold 22 million Xbox Series S's and X's combined, whereas Sony is over 55 million now this generation. Like they are getting beaten so badly, it's worse than the Xbox One right now. Like how badly they're getting beaten. So it's like it feels like things have kind of crested over a place where Microsoft might not be able to recover anymore. Um, and maybe that's not really the intent of theirs. Like they don't really intend to recover, but that might like those numbers being that just the disparity being that large might explain why Microsoft leadership, or why we think Microsoft leadership is coming in here and saying like, Xbox we need to make money, guys. Like I don't care about the exclusives anymore. Like just need to make money with these games, and put in places where people are actually playing.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that big of an audience, and I think there's just like a reality that's set in with that probably behind the scenes. And yeah, I think it's almost like, I'm not like, this isn't like a doomsday shit. I don't think Xbox is going away like anytime soon necessarily, but in the next like 10 years, if things continue to go this direction, it's just like, how much more will Microsoft justify making hardware? It's like at a certain point they're just going to be like, we can make a fuck ton of money being a third party publisher, and fuck it. That feels like a really realistic outcome for them at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. The biggest thing will be when I would start to worry when we see Halo on PlayStation. That's when I'd be like, okay, now we got to worry about something.
You
Until
think
that
so? Because
happens,
I feel like Halo on PlayStation makes so much sense. Like,
I feel like a full-fledged Halo game would be crazy on PlayStation.
they would make so much money though. Like, I think PlayStation players would actually buy it a lot.
Well, it's funny because PlayStation players are asking for Helldivers to go to Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's an active push for them to get on Helldivers on Xbox.
So weird. It's so weird.
And yeah, because they want the crossover between Helldivers and ODSTs. Like, everybody wants that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't worry too much about Xbox, y'all. Like, in my opinion, I mean, this was bound to happen, and it happened. So,
yeah, and I mean, I just think like if you care about their games, those aren't going anywhere. I think even if they got out of hardware, they're still going to be a publisher. So like that.
I will say, I
yeah.
think Hi-Fi Rush is going to do a lot of numbers on PlayStation. That's its audience.
I can
for
see
sure.
it. Yeah, I can definitely see it. It'll be funny to see like them selling more copies on PlayStation than their own their own hardware.
Yeah, it's definitely
That's going to be really weird
numbers.
for them to get used to, probably, because it's definitely going to happen that way. I feel like Pentiment's the same way, probably. But we'll see. We'll see for sure on that one. But all right, let's move on. I'm actually going to move up the other Microsoft story we had. I forgot we had two of them. So another Microsoft thing that came out was the last week we had talked about the 34 million Game Pass subscriber number that Microsoft had thrown out there that Sarah Bond had mentioned during the podcast. And it was that number is not, it's misleading, I guess I should say. So Tom Warren over at The Verge basically has confirmed that number includes their core subscribers, which are the folks that were not upgraded, but converted from Xbox Live Games with Gold, which is their PSN Essential or PlayStation Plus Essential, equivalent, where that basically gets you access to the network and you get a free game or two every month, essentially. So that's like the super basic version of Game Pass, and those players will not be getting Diablo 4. So what this means is, though, that the true Game Pass subscribers, the people that are actually subscribed to the real subscription service, that number might have actually gone down since the last time we heard it at 25 million potentially. So the growth we were talking about with Game Pass might not actually have been growth. So things are a little bit dicier with Game Pass than maybe we were thinking initially. So, but the Diablo 4 coming in March, that is only going to be for people who are in the the one that's like $10 a month or higher, or $15 a month, I think it is now, or higher tier of Game Pass. So, Montrell, any thoughts on this one?
Unfortunately, I don't have any thoughts. I mean, that kind of sucks.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of sucks that they kind of, I don't want to say lied, but misconstrued the numbers.
Well, they do this all the time, dude. They say something and they mean something else. It's like they I don't know. This is where I get so sick of Phil Spencer with this shit, dude. Where he's talking out of two sides of his mouth.
Yeah.
he does this all the fucking time, and it's just
Yeah,
so
he
it's so
did it with
tiring.
Helldivers. He was like, "Oh, it kind of sucks that Helldivers isn't on our
Yeah,
console because it kind of hurts the gamers." But you weren't doing this like last week, and Power World had like 5 million players
exactly.
on it.
Yeah, why is Pal World a fucking exclusive? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, like, I don't
So
know, dude.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I mean, if I was a shareholder though, I would probably start pulling out. I mean, not pulling out of Microsoft, I guess, but like I would talk to Microsoft and be like, "Hey, you gotta check your Xbox brand because he told us 34 million subscribers, and then it comes out that it's not actually 34 million subscribers to Game Pass. We thought this was doing well, so I don't know. It's weird. I think it's kind of shady, and not to be the business guy, but kind of like you misled your investors as well. Like it's kind of weird,
Mm-hmm.
but whatever.
Yeah.
Every company does that, I guess.
Yeah, I do think Phil and his group are in trouble. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer they're going to be there if things don't severely turn around for them in terms of revenue. So we'll see. All right, moving on. Elden Ring, the Shadow of the Erd Tree DLC. It was revealed, and there was a 3-minute trailer yesterday. Montrell, did you watch this?
No, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I am sick of Elden Ring. I'm not going to play this shit. Sorry, y'all. Don't fucking care about the
Preach,
game.
preach.
I, I don't care about it. I beat the game already. I am literally when I say I am done with like From Software, not From Software. I'm done with the Soulsborne games. I didn't play Lords of the Fall or the Lords of the Fallen. I stopped. I didn't play the Surge. I didn't play the Surge 2. I am done, y'all. I played Sekiro, and that's all I needed to play. I don't want a Bloodborne remake. I don't want an Elden Ring DLC. I don't fucking care. And you know what's really funny about this Elden Ring DLC?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, bro, just make Berserk. Like, just get the rights to do Berserk at this point, bro. There were so many Berserk references in this goddamn trailer.
Oh,
I'm like,
really? Yeah.
Miyazaki, just fucking make Berserk, bro. Please, for the love of fucking God, just make Berserk. Um, um, and I do also like the little fist. It looks like they got a fist style they're adding, or maybe it's just like a little art that you can do. Um, but I mean, if maybe if they have a dedicated fist style, because I love the fist style. That's why I play in Neo 2 is the fist style. So if
Mm.
they have a dedicated fist style, I'll come back and play it. But um, from what I hear, the world is a little bit bigger than the original world.
No.
That's what he said. That's
Oh
what he
my
said.
fucking god, dude. Oh
So
my Jesus Christ.
um,
Enough. Enough is enough. Like 100. We don't need 100-hour DLC. Oh
so
God.
um, I don't know. Like I said, I liked Elden Ring. Elden Ring was like the epiphany of the Dark Souls and Demon Souls esque type games.
Yeah.
Um, that was like the ultimate package for that. I feel like you played Elden Ring, you do not need to go back and play Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3, in my opinion. Um, unless you just really like it and you want to experience those games. But Elden Ring is like the pinnacle of all those games, in my opinion. And I personally didn't need anything else. I was satisfied with it.
Yeah.
Um, but I am glad for people who are like a lot of people are like really waiting for this. They've been waiting for this, and I was just like, okay, I'm not playing it, but I'm glad everybody else get a chance to experience it.
Gotcha. Well, it's coming on June 21st. I mean, yeah, I don't have much to say here. It just looks like um, more Elden Ring, which is I haven't played it, so I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it. It's like I'm kind of in the same boat as you are, though. I'm not like I don't know the Souls games. I'm just really not into them. I guess the way most people are. I'm sorry, and maybe I'm like annoying with this at this point. I just prefer Neo. I really do. It's just like
And to be honest with you, I don't even think Neo's in the same category as Souls.
it's not. It is not. Yeah, and I agree with that. And yeah, I'm just I don't know. I'm just tired of these games. Like, yeah, Sekiro was kind of it for me with FromSoft. Like, that was the game, and I don't want to play their RPG that much, like their RPG side of things that much. Because I mean, like I said, I've tried Dark Souls 3, and I played like 20 or 30 hours of it, and I was just like, I was like, wasn't that fun? I wasn't actually having fun when I was playing it. I felt like I was just like trying to be a part of the zeitgeist, and it just wasn't that enjoyable. Um, so yeah, but I'm sure everybody's super excited. This DLC is probably going to sell 15 million copies, and it'll be game of the year at the end of the year. So
Yeah,
all right,
yeah.
moving on.
Sorry,
um,
guys.
yeah, yeah. I know we're we probably are so negative about that. It's just we're not the audience, man. I don't know. It's just me and you. We're
I
not.
used to be the audience, and I'm tired of it now. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I'm over it. You know,
Well,
like I don't.
15 years. It's been like 15 years of these games.
And not to mention all the other fucking spin-offs and copies of it and all the other shit. Like I am burnt out of it. Like you
Yeah.
said, 15 years, man. We've been doing this shit for 15 years. We had bad Souls games, we had good Souls like games, and all these Souls like games. And I'm tired of the fucking word Souls like. I'm tired of it all, bro. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't fucking care. When I beat Elden Ring and I sat in the chair in the end, that was me putting down the ring. That was me. I'm
So
like, I
that
was
was
that
your
character. Yeah, I was
yeah
that character. I was like,
that was your end game.
yeah,
For the
that was
MCU. Yeah.
exactly. That was me. I was done. I'm like, this is
You're
it
like,
for me.
okay, this is a good exit point. I'm
Yeah,
done with this.
exactly.
Yeah.
I I really wasn't expecting DLC, but I should have known after they sold like 20 fucking billion copies. So I mean, I
Yeah.
should have known
Right.
Bandai was like, hey, we need some more of this
Hey,
shit.
y'all want to make some DLC? Yeah, they want to get that double dip. So, all right, moving on.
Also, I do want to say, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
I do want to say, I like how the release date is 6/21,
Mm-hmm.
like the pilot in fucking Armored Core 6.
That isn't a coincidence. That's not a coincidence. Hold on. What day of the week is that? It's a Friday.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy.
Miyazaki must have been like, yes, perfect.
He's a fucking madman. He probably
Yeah.
planned this shit out like years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh my god. All right. Moving on. We got a story about Sony. Hiroki Totoki, my favorite name in gaming.
I know, right?
He had some things to say a couple weeks ago, and we didn't talk about everything. We talked about a little bit of it, but there was a specific quote that we didn't actually talk about, which I'm glad we didn't now, because the quote was mistranslated. So he had talked about, and here's the quote. Quote, I visited the Bungie studios and had meetings with the management, and I saw that employees working at the studios were highly motivated, showing great creativity as well as an impressive knowledge of live services. However, I also felt that there was room for improvement from a business perspective with regard to areas such as the use of business expenses and assuming accountability for development timelines. I hope to continue the dialogue and come up with some good solutions. End quote. So this quote originally didn't mention Bungie. So people thought he was talking about all the first parties in general. So the Sony actually, retranslated the quote and sent it back out, and contextualized it that it was specifically about Bungie that he was talking about, which we both were kind of like, well, that almost makes this more interesting, that Bungie is like a particular problem child that Sony views them as an issue right now, or at least Hiroki Totoki does. So Marshall, give me your thoughts on what he's talking about here with Bungie.
No, I think for a while now, Bungie has been very reckless.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of players have been complaining. Like I've left the community for a while now, but a lot of players have been. You know how you leave a community though, and you stop playing the game, but you still check in every once in a while. I'm pretty sure you still do it sometime with like,
Mm-hmm.
Apex or whatever the case may be, right? You don't do it all the time, but you may check in like every once in a while and check what's going on with Apex. I mean, and then obviously me and Jet are like your links to Apex as well. Um, but yeah, like I'm the same with like Destiny because sometimes I do get that Destiny itch, but I've come to realize that I'm never gonna get the Destiny 1 experience again. That's never
Mm-hmm.
gonna come back. The game has totally changed. And even with like their DLC and everything of that nature, like it just all feels unfinished.
Yeah.
Everything they release feels unfinished. and players have been complaining about it, especially with this last story with the witness. I think that's what his name is called, either the witness or the final, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Mhm.
People are just like kind of done with it, and I agree with them. I feel like um uh Sony Jim Ryan has let this go go on for way too long, and that's because this company was primarily ran from the West, from the American side of things. Now it's going back to the Eastern side of things, and I expected a shakeup, and um, I expected Bungie also, or Bungie doesn't like to release stuff on time, and I
Mhm.
think that's what the issue is. Like, and they spend so much money, it's like, where's this money going? Like, what are you doing with this
Right.
money and everything of that nature?
Yeah.
And they just why is this not deleting? Okay, sorry, I'm trying to like order food as well from DoorDash, but it's like
What are you getting?
some chilies.
Nice. Okay.
Chilies, yeah. I'm sorry, y'all, but every time we get off
Hey, man,
the
you got to do it.
podcast, no,
We
every
don't
time we
eat
get off the
beforehand,
podcast,
so
yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, it's just I had a lot. I just feel like, and I may be completely wrong, and you can like uh co-sign or go against me or whatever the case may be. But I feel like Destiny has just fallen off. Like,
Oh yeah,
or not
I
Destiny,
totally
but
agree.
Bungie in general. They used to be like the kings and queens of like multiplayer, because they obviously they made Halo, right?
Yeah.
And they were like the guys. And they made games, because I remember when they first made Halo, and they really, or not first made Halo, but they made Halo 2. They released a documentary, and they like, we play games, we make games that we would want to play, and everything of that nature. I don't feel like they want to play Destiny, in my opinion. When I played Destiny 1, definitely. You know how they fixed that game up and everything. Destiny 2, though, there's
Mhm.
no way in hell anybody wants to play that game the way they released that game. And now I'm even scared for Marathon. And I think that's where Toki is coming from as well, because he probably seen Marathon and it's like, we're guys, where's the game at?
Yeah.
Like, you can't just show games, and then I mean, then from his perspective, it's probably just like a money thing. It's like, we spent all this money on you guys. We spent like $2 billion on you, or however fucking much we spent for you. And maybe they're getting some kind of clarity back from it, but they're not.
No.
We, the player, don't see it, and
No.
I'm pretty sure the reason why Totoki went to them is because the shareholders aren't seeing it either as well. And it's like, also on top of that, you got Bungie going after other studios like old PlayStation. Because when I say old PlayStation, I mean Jim Ryan's PlayStation. So Jim Ryan's PlayStation was like, "Hey, how about you go talk to uh The Last of Us, Naughty Dog, and tell them how to make their game?" Hey, they even talked to Helldivers people. Like, from
Mhm.
what I'm understanding, they went to Arrowhead Studios and were like, "Guys, we don't think this is like sustainable." And Arrowhead was like, "Fuck you guys, we want to do what we want to do."
Man, yeah,
So,
I'm glad they fucking they didn't listen. Jesus.
from what I hear now, like, it's not verified though, but from what I hear now, people are like, Sony is trying to get Arrowhead to like get them to look at their games now, and like, hey, see if it's fun or not, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I just think Bungie is walking around right now like their shit doesn't stink. They got out of one bed with Microsoft, and they got into another bed with Sony. But the Sony, they're making the bed now. They're wearing the pants in the family, and I feel like other studios are just like at their whim and command, and I don't like that, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Yeah, I just think Bungie is clearly a boondoggle for Sony right now. Like, this was a huge mistake. Purchasing them. Like, I think it's obvious. I think it's been obvious for a while. And Hiroki Totoki is pissed. I think that they bought this company. I think that's like, I don't know. I like, these are really harsh comments, dude, coming out of a you know, you're fucking the head of PlayStation at this point. And I think everything he said is justified, though. And honestly, when this was in context of all the first party, I wouldn't have had a problem with him saying this in that context either. Because, dude, we've been talking about budgets throughout and Sony's always the one we kind of pulling at with like Insomniac with Spider-Man and shit. And it's like, what are you spending all this money on, on these games? And in Bungie's particular case, they're not, there's no return. The return is not happening. They're not making nearly as much money as they used to on Destiny, and they fucked up. And I don't think, I don't know, like they're kind of in a precarious position. It makes you wonder if they were still independent, would they even be here? You know,
Well,
w-
back in
with the
October,
because you remember that quarter where they like had 50% loss year over year.
yeah, and
Um,
and they laid off like 100 people and everything of that
yeah, and
nature.
imagine if Sony didn't own them. Like would they have just like severely cut the team? You know,
Well, and that's what I'm saying. We don't know. And then they delayed their that's what's called, y'all, the final shape. They delayed
yeah,
um
till June.
the DLC until June, and it's like, yeah, what are you guys doing? The DLC before this wasn't all that. A lot of people didn't like buy that DLC, like because they usually get a return investment, right? When they drop a DLC, people usually come back. They didn't do that this time,
Hmm.
um, and yeah, I don't know, man.
I
Like,
think they may have overestimated the appeal, the longevity of Destiny 2. Like, and this is a huge mistake for a live service studio, is not really understanding the ebb and flow of your game and what the true player base is.
well, another thing is they just never improved the game, in
Yeah,
my opinion. Like they always kept it. We're on new consoles, we're on new hardware and everything of that nature, right? Why are we still doing the same linear three people strike missions? Why don't we have full planets we can explore? Like this was acceptable. Well, kind of unacceptable, but still acceptable, right? In the Xbox One and PS4 era, because like those consoles couldn't handle it. But now we're in
hmm,
PS5, Xbox 3, sorry, Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S era. Everything has SSDs now.
hmm,
Why haven't we revamped the game? Like,
yeah,
why are we still doing the same mission structure? Why haven't we, you know, like that's what you need to do. Like they're trying to be Blizzard without being Blizzard, right? You can tell they're
right,
trying to be Blizzard. And as much as we don't like World of Warcraft, every expansion that comes out drastically changes that game. Like almost to the degrees like I don't even know what the fuck I'm playing anymore type shit,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's like we're not getting I don't get that. The last time we got that was fuck. It wasn't the witches one. It was another
Taken
one.
King.
No, it wasn't Taken King. It was another one where they actually dropped a new status effect or a new element for Bungie.
Oh, I don't remember which one that was, but yeah,
Yeah,
I know
it
what you're
was it
talking
was
about.
one with the ice, but you can actually go to the dark side now and use the dark power. It was the stasis powers or whatever. Um, but even that wasn't enough. And it was like, all right, are we going to get any more
I
classes?
remember
Like,
that one, and I remember Skill Up talking about how it like broke the game though. Like they just like they weren't balancing the game anymore, like between
oh yeah,
expansions, and like player
PvP
power
is
was just getting out of control in PvE. Yeah,
yeah, PvP and PvE like it's just I don't know, man. Like when I played it, I wasn't really having fun. Me and DJ tried to play a little bit, but we both were like I think that's when I started playing Monster Hunter again with you. So
yeah,
it was just like uh both of us fell out of it. It just didn't grab us like it used to or whatever. Because I mean, we didn't add any classes. Like we still had the same fucking classes: Warlock, Hunter, and Titan. I don't feel like there really any difference. Like
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just the game hasn't changed. Nothing's changed. They added a little bit here and there, and now you're like, ooh, and I'm pretty sure, guaranteed. This is I'm putting this on my life, Justin. Watching the next couple of months, if when June comes around and the final shape doesn't,
Doesn't hit.
shape out to
Yeah,
what needs to be. No pun intended. Actually, that was intended. I'm sorry, y'all. That was stupid. Um, when it doesn't shape out to what it wants needs to be, um, people are going to get laid off. Probably some higher ups are going to get fired. Hiroki Toki's probably going to do some gutting of the company, and then we're going to get some kind of Jason Schreier interview where they're going to be like, Hiroki Toki fucking is you're a fucking tyrant and blah, 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 blah. I guarantee fucking to you. I guarantee you, bro. I guarantee it.
Hmm.
And no one's gonna look at the timeline. No one's gonna be. Everyone's gonna be like, "Yep, he is a tyrant. He's just come
Evil
in."
Sony came in and took
Yeah,
control. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, they gave you plenty of chances. It was just that old Sony for some reason was just letting you do what you wanted to do, and now you
Yeah.
have somebody that's holding you accountable for what you need to do, and you're not doing it.
Well, dude, we talked about this back when they split from Activision, dude, that, everybody was blaming Activision for every issue that Destiny 2 had, always.
Yeah,
And
uh,
I said that at the time that I was like, I don't, you know,
yeah.
I
You
doubt
kind of
it's that. I doubt it's that. Specific that Activision's like, you have to put these microtransactions, or you have to put this specific thing in. You can't do anything innovative. It's like no, they're not saying you can't innovate the game. They're not doing that kind of shit. Like Bungie is making these decisions. They're the ones executing the game. They're the ones on specific patches. They're doing the changes on those patches. Like Activision is like, they're probably like, they have certain requirements. There's probably like money goals you have to hit as a partner in that sort of agreement,
yeah.
and Bungie is making decisions to hit those requirements. I don't think Activision's coming in and like developing the game and like telling them how to fucking design the game. So I never
And
felt
that's
that was true. And dude, I feel like it's played out since they split. I feel like it's played out exactly as I felt, that Bungie was already on this path and they were making these decisions themselves, and they were
well,
using
wasn't there a
Activision as a
Jason
fucking
Schreier interview that came
scapegoat.
out? That came out
Um,
about that, like how the staff was just like, oh, it was during the when one of their composers left.
yeah,
It was revealed how the work environment at Bungie
yeah,
changed
that the Bungie
drastically.
leadership is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what people have jumped to now, is blaming Bungie's the suits at Bungie, these people that are running the company, the high level executives, and obviously that matters, like the way they decide to do things and everything like that. But I don't know. I just feel like as a whole, this company's just not. I don't. They're not as good as everyone says they are. They've never been that. They haven't been that in a long time, I guess is what I'll say. Like I
I feel
think
like they haven't. I understand what you're trying to say. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
yeah.
Keep going.
No, you're good. I was pretty much done. But it's
Um,
just, I don't know. Everybody makes excuses for Bungie, and I'm just tired of it. I'm glad that somebody who's actually a businessman is like coming in and being like, yeah, this company's fucked up and they need to be accountable. And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like I like the idea that Hiroki Totoki's not fucking around, dude. Like he's taking no fucking prisoners. Um and I kind of appreciate that. And I think he needs to do that with the other first party studios, to be frank, you know.
Well,
Um
I just hope he really. I actually wonder how much Helldivers cost to make. I can't wait till that comes out.
it
Right?
probably was not a whole lot.
Yeah, because I think another thing is, um, you gotta think about the environment that we're in, right, or the climate that we're in right now, as far as economy and credit and everything of that
Mhm.
nature, and the majority of the studios being in the West or whatever. So borrowing credit for these projects, these huge projects, are going to be the interest is going to be fucking astronomical,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. So it's like I, why is you already mentioned it. Why is Spider-Man $300 million or 100 million or $150 million, however much the budget was to make Spider-Man? Like, why is it that much or whatever the case may be?
Mhm.
And all these other games. And yeah, if I was him, I would be looking at these games and like, all right, so Ghost of Tsushima took this much money to make and made this much in profit. So you're telling me
Yeah.
that's all you may need. And I understand, right? And I was thinking about it, and I understand Ghost of Tsushima and like maybe like the actors and stuff like that and actresses, since the game is popular now, their rate may go up as far as like what they may want, right? And I get that.
Yeah.
Um, I just don't feel like other stuff should go up. And I understand too why Destiny does have high costs, right? Like I understand why their costs are super high because this is an online game. Servers are high, the infrastructure is high. Because it was a long tweet thread that Harada did, and that's the guy that is like the executive producer of Tekken. He tweets a lot, and he was talking about the budgets and he's like, not only are things inflated and everything of that nature, we got to account for inflation, but he's like, for Tekken 8 compared to like Tekken 2, we didn't have online back then. All we had to do was just make the game, and that was it, and that was our budget, and maybe
Hmm.
some budget for marketing. But we had to. He was describing, like he said, a lot of the money goes into the building the infrastructure for the online and making
Yeah.
sure it works and everything of that nature.
Servers,
So I
net code. Yeah.
exactly. So I understand that from just being like a junior network engineer. I understand that.
No,
Like,
network equipment is so fucking
oh
expensive,
my
dude.
god,
It's
bro. You
unbelievable.
guys have
Like,
no fucking
you
idea.
have no idea. Yeah, you have no idea, dude. You couldn't even fathom like how much it costs to just set up a single network rack, bro.
Oh
Like,
my god,
it's
bro.
it's fucking dumb. Like,
Yeah.
Cisco are they're crooks. Like, straight up, they're fucking crooks. Like, they're criminal. Like, they're a criminal company.
They have a foothold in the industry.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
they're like the Microsoft of networking.
Yeah,
Um,
bro. It's so bad.
but yeah, no. So I understand why Destiny has this high cost. So the $250 million that I was bagging on when the first Destiny came out, like, it makes sense now why that is, and probably for Grand Theft Auto, the $1 billion, whatever, kind of makes sense
Yeah.
why that's probably $1 billion or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Um, but a lot of the games that are coming out now, like for instance, Immortals of Avium or Avium or whatever the fuck, why was that $100 million? That doesn't
Right.
have any. That's a strictly online game. So I mean, I get where he's coming from, and I understand. Like, we need to crunch these numbers and see, like, because I'm pretty sure a lot of it's like bonuses and stuff like that too, and all the other bullshit or whatever the case may be. So, I don't know. Bungie has been on a tear for a while. Their tyranny has ended. It looks
Yeah.
like it's coming to an end, and it looks like they really going to have to. I think the Destiny players win, in my opinion. I think the
Yeah.
final shape is going to be a really good DLC for you, because this is their make it or break it moment for them. I think
They
that's going to
have
be
to
the
deliver. That's why they delayed it.
yeah.
I think they
Exactly.
know
I
that.
think they knew what was coming down the pipeline as well. I'm pretty sure they already knew who was taking over and everything like that.
Yeah. Bungie could look very different a year from now, so we'll see. It'll be very interesting to continue to follow them. Marshall, I have a random question though. You mentioned Helldivers. How many copies do you think Helldivers has sold?
Man, that's
I mean,
interesting.
we know the cap is 600,000, right? And they're
Yeah.
struggling. They're struggling to get people into the game, or they were before this AFK patch or whatever that they just did. But um, yeah, because I was thinking like 2 million, but now I'm starting to think it might be higher than that.
I think it's
um,
around 4 or 5 million people
Dude,
copies
that would
being
be
sold.
crazy if they actually sold that many. I do
It's
want to put
only
that in.
$40.
Yeah, I do want to put that in context though, right? Let's say it is 5 million. It's like that's only $200 million, of revenue, and that's not taking any of the costs or anything out of it. So it's like, is that even a lot of money to Sony? For as much as Helldivers 2 is like a huge success, it does make you wonder. Like, is Sony? This is probably not the scale they're looking for, or it's either that's true, or they need to figure out how to monetize Helldivers 2 in a more real way, because I don't think the game is monetized to a point that they can justify what the one of the people from the studio said, where they're never going to charge for DLC.
I think it is.
Um,
I think it's justified. They got limited microtransactions where you can buy stuff, and I
I
do
know, but
buy
they're
stuff.
cheap. They're like super cheap. They're like $1 or $2, aren't they? They need to
Yeah.
raise those prices, I think, if they're gonna wanna keep to that.
They don't need to raise the prices, man. I think they'll be fine.
I mean, I don't want them to. I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying, like, from Sony's standpoint, to
I
justify
think
continued development on this game.
see, that's the thing. I think they already probably had the money allocated for support of this game.
Hmm.
I think, to be honest with you, nobody expected this game to blow up the way it did.
No,
So,
obviously not.
um, I think they already made the money and then some back. And now I think Arrowhead is now up there in the echelon of like first party studios, or in the running to be a first party studio for
Yeah, they
Sony,
might get purchased. Sony may
yeah,
purchase them for
or
sure.
they may have like that really good relationship for like how From Software has a good relationship with Sony as well. So they may have that relationship with them now.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, I
Well,
mean, even the first game was good. Like I went back and just kind of watched the first gameplay, and people were just like, yeah, even though it's a top down twin stick shooter, it was fucking fun.
yeah,
Um,
well, from what I've heard, it's literally the same game. They just changed the perspective. Like
yeah,
it's
exactly,
like everything
exactly.
about it is the same. It's just like they literally made it a third person shooter, instead
Yeah,
of a top down twin stick.
yeah, exactly. So
Which whoever made that decision, by the way, like whoever made that call with this game,
good
man, give
call.
them props.
Yeah, good call.
That what a brilliant call, dude. Like, damn, they really did it. Because yeah, if this was a twin stick shooter, this game would not be. No offense to that genre, but yeah, this would not be the success story that it
It's
is.
a very niche genre for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I don't know, man. Yeah, Helldivers, Sony got lucky, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's what I think. I think that's what game companies need, man. They need it. It's always the games that we don't expect. I mean, because Helldivers to me is the same thing that happened with Ghost of Tsushima. We kind of just wrote it off. We saw it
yeah.
in like 20 fucking state
And
of
then it
plays,
comes out and
and
it's
then
like,
it
holy
comes out.
shit, this game's really fun. What the fuck? Why didn't Sony fucking let anyone preview this shit? Like, why didn't they show it more? Like,
They
yeah.
actually did show it a lot. We
No,
just
but
ignored it.
dude, but Helldivers 2, they didn't let anyone preview it. They didn't send
That's
review
true.
codes out early. Like the game didn't have reviews on release day. Like there was no like they were almost hiding this game. Like I almost think they thought this game was going to do terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They like obviously they couldn't have been more wrong if that was the case, but
Well,
um
it's the way the game is like structured, Justin. Not just the game, like the gameplay, the moment to
yeah.
moment gameplay. It's a video game. Like I can
Yeah.
jump in. I mean, besides the server issues, right? But if the game was like at 100%, right? I
Mhm.
can jump in. I can play with my friends. I'm not getting bombarded with like, hey, microtransactions. Oh, get battle pass. Hey, man, got this new skin right here, bro. Like I can unlock everything
Yeah.
and I can unlock everything legitimately. The game is just fun. I can talk to people online. The game actually encourages it. Just talk to randos, and the community is nice. And it's like it took me back to the 2010 era of gaming, like when we didn't have all this like snowflake shit and all these microtransactions and all this
Right.
bullshit. It was
Yeah.
just like it's a pure gaming experience, and I just love that. I just love a pure game experience, and it's almost like the Baldur's Gate of multiplayer, like how
Yeah.
everyone was just like, this is a pure video game made from love, and you can just tell. Like that's how I feel about Helldivers. It's just a pure video game made for love for other people to play.
Well, there's no
And
drama around it either. There's no bullshit.
yeah,
We're not sitting here having political conversations or talking about,
people are trying to
fucking.
make it political.
I
I,
know,
I
yeah,
kind of
I
hate
know.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's just Twitter like inserting nonsense where it doesn't need
Well,
to be inserted, but
it was on Reddit too. The person said I got kicked out of the Discord because I think somebody in the Helldivers Discord put like a trans flag in there or something like that, and then the other person was like, "Hey, we play this game to escape reality, not be in it." And then that person that said that got kicked from the
yeah.
server. So it's just like,
Yeah,
how
but these
about
are like minor things. This is on the Discord,
yeah,
it's not like taking
exactly,
over. It's not taking over the conversation. So it's like it does feel like a throwback kind of game, and
yeah, and
that's
and people are willingly upgrading to like the super citizen version of the game and everything. I'm gonna upgrade to the super citizen version of the game because I like the game that much. So that's my thing where it comes to monetization. Like
mhm.
if companies, I wish companies will understand. And this is my thing with Bungie as well. I'm sorry, I know I'm going on a fucking tangent, but I don't give a fuck
No,
anymore.
it's preach, man. I love it. This is great.
Um, this is my thing, right? I watch the GDC conferences, and I
Yeah,
implore you guys, please watch these conferences because these are like developers talking to developers and the methods and everything like that, and you get a lot of really good information, not just as a developer, as a gamer, and how you get an inside window into how the gamers or how the developers think and everything of that nature. And for me, it was one conference that I watched. It was like a 2-hour conference or something like that. Not a 2-hour conference, maybe like an hour or something like that. um and it was one of the guys from Bungie. He's a behavior analyst guy.
Oh, I remember that. We talked about that last
Oh, we
year.
talked
Yeah,
about that, yeah.
I believe we
And
did. Yeah.
and he was talking
Oh,
about,
actually, no. This was from a long time ago, wasn't it? Now that
yeah, it was. It
yeah,
was
we
like when
talked about that
Destiny.
we did talk about this recently, though. I think.
Yeah, we did. And yeah, he was talking about, how the, behavior modifiers, and he was talking about some really good stuff, right? Like, how you hold the X button, and that gives the player
Yeah.
confidence and confirmation and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
So
But
I
then
like
he talked about monetization, and
that's the part I was
it
getting to.
was
Yeah,
really gross
it
sounding.
was
I remember. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really gross sounding. And I just think all that cycle, like there are companies like I there are contractors uh that hire psychologists and everything. Like one of my friends, he's a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, but a psychologist. And he's like, yeah, like I get contracts from like game companies all the time, and he's got your game companies all the time, because they want to know, they want to dive into the psyche, the psyche of a player and how to
Hmm.
get them hooked, or how to you know this is not a third, and they contract them out. And these some people do it because they need the money, and some people don't do it because of ethics. But like it's all research based, and like to you the gotcha game may just be, oh, I'm spending $10 and I'll get this fucking character or whatever and play the game. To them,
Hmm.
that's like a whole fucking psychiatrist, they or psychologist rather, they invested in. That's like, yeah, I just justify this purchase because now I know the behavior, and now I know how to get you back and everything of that nature.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe it until like I was in a Discord with some other friends, and they were like the poke the not the Pokemon, but the Dragon Ball Z Dokkan. Is it
Yeah.
Dokkan
Token battle. Yeah.
Dokkan
That's a
battle? They are like
very
hooked.
bad gotcha game.
Oh my god, they are hooked to that shit, Justin.
I
It's
know.
actually
No,
insane.
dude, Montreal. Like, let's be real. Okay. I have a problem when it comes to Genshin Impact. Like that game, I can't play that game realistically. Like I always end up spending money in it. Like every time. Like they whatever system they have in that game, it just seems to work on me the way my psychology works. Um, and I can't play it. Like I just like I don't know. Like it's not like it's not so bad that I'm like going crazy, but I am spending money that I would otherwise be spending on other things, like in terms of my play budget, and I'm like taking up my play budget with Genshin Impact when I could be buying magic cards or a video game, another video
Yeah,
game. And I think I almost lock myself into this cycle where it's like I don't have any money to buy anything else, like buy any other games. So then I end up just keep playing Genshin, and I just kept going through this cycle. And I was like, I got to stop playing this fucking game, bro, because I'm not playing other video games. And I'm spending all my money on this stupid bullshit.
yeah.
And I had the same problem with like Fire Emblem Heroes back in the day, like on mobile when that first came out. Like, dude, I spent like a embarrassing amount of money in a short period of time, in that fucking game. So, um,
I think my point is like one, yes, okay,
well, there's a
accountability, right?
psychology that works on everybody though. Like,
Exactly. Yeah,
and
it's
that's why these games there's so many of these games and they're so successful, dude.
yeah. They
Like,
hire people that are like literally working in fucking casinos to like get their
yeah.
games.
Well, dude, there's probably one out there that would work on you. And it's just
Yeah,
you just haven't
exactly.
found it. You just haven't experienced it yet.
Exactly. And that's kind of like what I mean. Like it's just uh they have all this data that they're collecting and everything of that nature, and it's like we don't need that. You don't need that to monetize off players. All
Yeah.
you need is a really good game, or not even a really good game, just a game that's like decent.
Right.
Because the climate that they created, we're I'll be honest with you, right? I don't think Helldivers 2 or 1 probably would have survived in like 2010.
Yeah.
Well, it probably would have with the technology and everything like that. But
Mhm.
um, it's just like it's just such a change of pace from what we're normally used to getting, that I don't know, like you can make a game like that and get away with microtransactions because I'm willing to pay the money to buy the game, to put, support this company and everything of that nature. So
Right.
I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. No, makes sense. So, all right, we got like severely sidetracked though. So, let's move on to our next story. And this actually came from Jeff Grubb originally. Is a report that Respawn is developing a first-person Star Wars Mandalorian game, and seems like it'll be a lot about mobility with the the jetpacks that they tend to have,
Yeah.
um, and whatnot. But yeah, Montrell. I mean, how do you feel about this? Like Respawn kind of becoming a Star Wars studio, basically.
I feel like they earned their stripes with Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
But are you okay with this? I guess it's because it's kind of in the same way that like Insomniac's becoming a Marvel factory.
um, Not up to me to be okay. To be honest with you, man. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I know. It just annoys me though.
They
Like this is a
they
really talented
tried.
team.
Yeah,
You know?
they tried. They tried twice with
Hmm.
Titanfall. They struck gold with Apex, and then and in my opinion, they took a huge risk and gamble with Jedi Fallen Order, and it struck gold again, and then they did it again with Jedi Survivor, and where it actually won a fucking Oscar. So
Yeah.
was it Grammy? A Grammy? I'm sorry, a Grammy. Um, so it's like they obviously they're a very talented team. I don't think they're going to become the Star Wars factory, but honestly, I mean, they I think they have the talent like of Lucas Arts, the old Lucas Arts games. Like I think they have the mentality, the drive, and everything of that nature. Would I love another Titanfall 3? Hell yeah, I love another Titanfall 3. But I understand that franchise didn't sell too well, or whatever the case may be. And it's
Yeah, but
now the
EA did
Apex.
that. I mean,
I mean,
if you want to get really cynical, it almost feels like EA like kind of pigeonholed Respawn into this situation.
if you want to be really cynical, I think EA just hates single player studios. I
They
I'm
want to
being
close them all.
I think so, man. Like
Yeah.
that Immortals of Avium, that what they did to that game was like really telling. I would be really upset if I was the CEO of that studio. Like that was kind of crazy what they did to that game.
Hmm.
I think Respawn got lucky with the Fallen Order thing. Excuse me. Got lucky with Fallen Order. I'm saying they got lucky. It's taking away the talent of that they put into the game. So I don't want to say got lucky. They were really EA giving them the license to make that game. In my opinion, would only happen if wouldn't have happened if Battlefront didn't fail. If Battlefront didn't fail, then we wouldn't have got a Fallen Order, in my
Hmm.
opinion.
Yeah.
But since Battlefront failed, EA was like, we gotta do something with this license, and then we got Fallen Order and Survivor out of that,
Hmm.
in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
only thing I'm upset about, I don't want another first person game. I wish it was like third
Mm-hmm.
person, but I guess the last Star Wars game was technically third person. But I
Yeah.
would like a third person like Mandalorian game. I don't really want a first person.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I don't know. First person game is interesting. And it looks like it says it's going to be like linear levels, like it's not going to be like an open world game, and so that's interesting as well. So, I don't know.
Maybe we're entering our second golden era of gaming, where gaming is going back to like how you. I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Yeah. Um I don't know, man. I just wish Respawn would like be able to make something else, their own
What
game.
game would you want them to make? You want them to make their own like IP again, like another IP?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, they've clearly shown proficiency at making certain genres. It's like they're not just a shooter studio. They can make an
Yeah.
action adventure game. So I'd like to see them like dabble in other things. Like, could they make, I don't know, like a fucking RPG or something?
I was going to say that obviously the studio likes RPGs. They made that they petitioned to get that fucking tabletop game, so they could
Mhm.
make some kind of strategy tabletop game or something like that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd just be cool to see that. I don't like this is like a really really disappointing news for me. I don't They're already making a Star Wars game with the Jedi games. It's like I don't know. I don't need them to have another fucking Star Wars franchise, so now that's all they make is Star Wars games and then Apex. It's like I don't know.
It's kind
So,
of one of those things. Those like this is going to pay our bills for a while type deal.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I mean
respect
EA
it.
is maximizing. They're trying to maximize profit out of the studio, so it makes sense. They know what they have on their hands. their skill level. So, all right, let's move on. Next story. Riot. This came today, actually. Riot finally officially announced their fighting game. It is called 2XKO.
Worst fighting game name I've ever
Yeah,
heard in my
it's
entire
pretty
life.
bad. But they showed a trailer and they showed some gameplay, and I don't know, dude. This actually looks pretty good. Like, I was really impressed by what I
Oh,
saw.
have you
Very
not seen the gameplay before?
no,
Oh yeah, they've been showed this gameplay. This is
they
like over.
had. I
Yeah,
hadn't. Yeah, we would have talked about it on the show if that was the case.
yeah, they showed gameplay like 2 years ago.
Okay. Well, no, I know, but it wasn't this like refined, right? Like,
Well, they showed it again like last year. Then they showed it at
okay,
Evo this year as well, or
yeah,
last year Evo as well.
yeah. Well, it's got a very Capcom, Marvel versus Capcom energy to it. At least
Yeah.
that's the vibe I get.
Oh, you're right. It reminds me of Marvel's Capcom 2 with the 2v2 system and a tag in, tag out system,
Yeah.
which is going to be interesting because they said each character is going to be controlled by one person. So there's going to be 4 people in the match, and the matchmaking is going to work
Ooh,
like that as well.
interesting.
So yeah,
Okay.
it's going to be interesting to see how that works or whatever.
So do you get tagged in? I'm assuming you're probably going to get tagged in by the person in control at that moment.
Pretty much, yeah,
Like, you won't be able to tag in if you're the one on the
yeah,
bench at that moment.
exactly, yeah. So
Okay. So you're going to have some teamwork and like know when to get out.
yeah,
Well, the characters they showed though, some pretty good choices. I see Ari in there, Darius, yeah, Yasuo, Alawi, Echo. Um, Definitely some characters from League that I think make sense in a fighting game setup for sure.
yeah, definitely. Uh, I was actually surprised to see. Well, the Ari is like the spellcaster. There's usually some kind of spellcaster in fighting games, which is weird. I know, but I was actually surprised to see Echo in there. I thought they were going to choose somebody else. They also have Jinx. They showed Jinx. I don't know if they showed it
Of
in the
course, she's
trailer.
fucking in there. Is Vi's got to be in there too? I would
Well,
assume,
they didn't
right?
show her, but Lowy's a playable character too.
Well, no,
So I know,
yeah, Alawi's in this trailer.
yeah, Lowy's in the trailer. I know they didn't show Jinx in the trailer, but they showed her like in other gameplay.
Yeah, yeah. I would just assume Vi's got to be in the roster though, right? Like, I mean, her whole character is designed around a fighting game. Like, it feels like.
I'm
So
pretty
if
sure
she's
she
not in there,
is.
that would be criminal.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she is. She's one of like the flagship characters now for League. So
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. It looks really good. I guess this is the first time I've really seen it. I guess I just hadn't looked at what they've shown before. Um, but it looks really good. I don't think they didn't give like a release date or anything like that. So we still don't know when it's coming. But do you think this is coming this year?
no, I think Riot is gonna push it out to next year or something like that.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Anything else you want to talk about with this one?
I just hate the name. Why couldn't it be like Project or not Project something, but like League Fighters or like League, like Tori said, League TKO or something like that. I think that would have been cool. Or Legends TKO or something, or
Yeah. Or yeah,
Legends
League
of
TKO or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
because we got Legends of Runeterra, we got Blade of the Rune King. Like it has no connection to League, in my opinion, which is weird to me. Maybe they don't. Maybe that's what they're going for. They don't want a connection to League.
Yeah, but why? That doesn't make any sense. You're
It
building
doesn't.
this universe, and everything should be connected to League. Like,
Yeah, like it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. They could have named it after like one of the fighter items or something like that. I don't fucking know, man. They could have did a lot uh,
mhm.
with this game, but to me, T or 2XKO sounds like a kawaii, like 2XKO.
Yeah, yeah,
Like like that's what it sounds like to me
yeah,
when I
no,
see it. It
yeah,
gives off those vibes and or whatever. But I don't know, man. I'm not a designer.
yeah. No, I feel you on that for sure. But, yeah, looks good. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna play it necessarily. I'm not super into fighting games, but I don't know if our group got really into it. Maybe I'd play it potentially, but we'll see. All right, well, Charles, moving on to our next story. This is coming from the Dice Awards. So Larian won Game of the Year at the Dice Awards for Baldur's Gate 3. No surprise there, but they actually got to give a speech this time. And they had a lot to say. And specifically want to call out one particular quote. So this was from David Walgrave, who's the head of production. And he said, quote, last year I started thinking of the secret to our success comes from what does the player want? What do I think the best is the best for the game? What is the most fun, the most crazy? And then he continued, we don't have shareholders, but we also don't think about them. Um, and then he said, in the long run, building a community, building a player base, building games that are actually fun is going to make you the most money. That's it. End quote. So there's nothing like controversial here or anything. I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts about what he said. Do you think this is true in this modern gaming era that if you make a good game, you will make money? That's how you make the most money is by making a good game. Do you think that's actually true?
Yes. I just complained
Yeah.
about it for like an hour, Justin.
Yeah.
So I was just messing with you. Yeah, I do think that's the best way. I think, honestly, as heavy as monetized as it is, Fortnite is a really good example of that.
Hmm.
That's a really good game, and people continuously put money into it because the basis of it is really good.
Right.
Um, I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like even Apex, right? Apex is the foundation of Apex, the movement, the shooting. There's nothing else like it.
Right.
Uh, and we will put money into that game. They just fix the cheating situation that's plaguing the game. Um, but
Right.
I mean, we talk about that all the time. Like these but we never put money into like Call of Duty, right? Because I don't think it's a really good game. And then obviously you guys don't think it's a really good game as well. And I think people have like some kind of Stockholm syndrome with that game. They just don't want to leave it because it's probably the only game they know. Um,
Yeah. Like a
but
habit.
yeah, yeah, it's a habit at this point.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, like Madden goes against his words because Madden is a game to me, in my opinion. I know Chris, if you're listening to this, you'll probably disagree with me. I think the game's ass. I don't think, and I think 2K is ass. Um, the only sports game I think is really good is MLB The Show.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can attest, like we stopped playing Madden years ago, and I think other people would stop playing Madden if there was alternatives. Like it's easier to stop playing Call of Duty because I have an alternative to go to. I can just
Yeah.
play Battlefield, I can play Apex, I can play other games or whatever. Whereas for football players or football sports games players, the industry is so like cut off from each other to where if I stop playing Madden, there isn't another equivalent to Madden anymore. If I stop playing NBA 2K, there isn't no NBA Live, even though they can make it. The license is open.
Yeah.
Uh, they can do that.
They've
But
tried several times actually.
you said
The
what?
EA has tried several times and they have
E-
canceled every single one.
exactly.
So
And so it's like I think players just want good games. I think Angry Joe is tired of every year looking forward to Madden. I'm pretty sure one year he wants to do a really good Madden video, or
mhm.
whatever the case may be. Um, and people are just if you just make a good game, like your profits will come back twofold, in my opinion. I think Final Fantasy has shown that, and all these other games have shown like these long living games they have something that players want. I don't really count. I don't know how you know. WoW is kind of different, but like Final Fantasy 14 is a prime example of that, right? Me and you continuously go back to that game every once in a while because it's just like it's a really decent game.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter is another example. We go back to that game. Well, not Rise, but like we go back to World because I mean, even Rise, it's good in its own degree, right? It's certain stuff that we don't like, but it is a good game. Um, and those games sold like hotcakes because they're really, really good. So his message is really simple: you make a good game, you get good profits, and that I think that was mainly towards the suits that
Yeah.
forced developers to make these crazy games
Yeah.
because I'm actually glad you put this article in here because it kind of ties into another thing I saw on the timeline floating around. So there were X343 developers on the timeline
Mhm.
because of Helldivers, and they were talking about it. They were talking about Helldivers, and they were like, "Yo, we actually pitched like 20 games to Microsoft,
Yeah.
like Helldivers, like other things. We wanted to explore other avenues of Halo, and their main thing, they just kept saying no. We want something with monetization. We want this and that and the third." That
Mm.
kind of changed my whole viewpoint on 343 when that developer said that, because he was like one of the lead developers. And I'm like, wow, so they really were trying new things. You can tell like 343 loves the IP. Um, but now I feel bad because I was shitting on them for the longest, but it's just like it's Microsoft. Microsoft really is just like Microsoft is still doing what Microsoft does. They haven't learned their lesson with Bungie. And it's like,
Yeah.
when are you gonna learn your lesson? You could have had a fucking Helldivers. Helldivers literally took your concept of ODSTs. Well,
Why is Halo as weak as it is right now? Makes no sense, dude. There's so many
exactly,
genres you could insert Halo into, you know? It's crazy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because they want this. They still game companies are weird. I mean, the executives are weird because they still want this, grandioso thing where it's like we as players we understand like we're not going to get every genre doesn't need to have the Final Fantasy 14 or I'm sorry, the Final Fantasy 7 remake budget. We
Yeah.
understand that. I don't want when I play YS, like the YS games, right?
Yeah.
I don't expect those games to have, you know, Final Fantasy level budgets and stuff like that. The
Yeah.
games are fun because of what they are,
Right.
or the case may be. So, but I think executives think in that way, and like for instance, Halo Wars 2, right? I didn't want the reason why Halo I'm probably never getting another Halo Wars is because they spent so much money on Halo Wars 2. And it's like I didn't want that big of a budget.
Why did you
The-
have to have that big of a budget? Yeah.
yeah, and
Right.
Halo Wars 1 was a good example of that too. The budget was insane for that game. And it's like they had really good Ensemble Studios is a excellent uh strategy RPG strategy RPG people or RTS rather RTS people, and those that studio got closed down because of Halo Wars. But
Yeah.
Halo Wars sold like 2 or 3 million copies, and it was a good game.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't make any sense to me,
Yeah.
um and I think Baldur's Gate is a prime example of like if you just make a really good fucking game, people will buy your fucking game.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think about this a lot. Like, is it so simple? Is it just make a good game and you make money? Like, obviously, there's marketing into it, and I think about the Madden example, like the sports games. Is like, dude, let's say somebody came out with let's say some miracle happened and the license wasn't exclusive to EA, right, for football, and somebody made a football game that had full access to the NFL licensing and all the players and everything, right? And they made a game that is objectively better than Madden. Like it's just better mechanically, it's better better in looks and everything. Would it come out and beat Madden? Like would it sell more than Madden? I find that hard to believe that reality would come to pass.
I think it
I
would,
just
man.
I don't know. I
I
mean,
think 2K kind of proved that back with 2K, the 2K.
2K5, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean, it's possible after 20 years, dude. Maybe there's enough of a build up happening with like this pent up desire and need in the market for a quality simulation football game. But and if somebody actually came out with it, it would maybe it would explode and go crazy. It's just that Madden keeps selling though. That's the thing that like makes me think that that's not true. Is that
Well,
if that was true, people would just stop buying Madden, right? If that people really wanted that, they would just stop buying Madden because it's shit. It's like I don't know,
I,
but they don't. They just keep buying it every year.
yeah, but I think the problem is, I mean, because I was talking to DJ and he mentioned this, and he said like you gotta think, or maybe it was you, or maybe it was Chris. I don't know. One of y'all said something that really resonated with me, and it was like, if that's all they play, then what is their alternative to play? You know?
Right. No, that's definitely true for
Yeah,
sure.
and I
Yeah,
think,
alternative actually arrived. Would they flee? Would they leave Madden and go
yeah,
play
and
now?
that's what I think. I think because DJ made a good point. He said there's so many people who are just sick of 2K. They literally try NBA live every time some kind of beta or like something drops. People try the game because they want an alternative to 2K. They're tired of 2K at this point.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the same thing would be for Madden as well. If there was a good competitor to Madden, people will try it. But I think a lot of I think, and I'm going to go on the whim here. I think 75% of their player base that buys Madden only play Madden. Like that's all they play. They don't play any
I
other
wouldn't be
games.
surprised by that. Maybe Call of Duty.
Maybe Call of Duty, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if alternative came out, they'd be like, yeah, I would definitely try this game,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be. So I think Honkai Star Rail is a good example of this. Even though it's a gotcha game, the quality is there, right, compared to
Yeah,
other
no,
gotchas.
I mean, dude, a lot of the successful games out there right now, right? We've talked about this before. Like you mentioned Fortnite, we talked about League, we've talked about Dota, I've talked about like Genshin and Honkai. Underneath all the monetization of these games is actually a quality, fun video game, right?
And you can play all those games for free without.
Yes,
You can experience the full experience of those games without
right.
buying anything, right?
Which is crazy. Which is crazy to think about that they're free. But it's like, yeah, I mean, ultimately that's where it comes down to being true. If they weren't actually fun games, like good games, I don't think they would make any money, like nobody
Exactly,
would be playing them. So I do think it's true. This is definitely true in the main, right? For sure. There is some nuance where it gets complicated in terms of like marketing and stuff like that.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But I think that mostly affects indies though, generally, more than anybody. Like I think most AAA studios, if you make a good game, it'll probably sell pretty
Well, the
well.
problem with
You know?
indies, in my opinion, is they keep trying to remake another game, right?
Yeah.
Like, how
Right.
many times have we seen another Mega Man game? How many
Or
times have we seen them,
Castlevania,
or
dude, or
Castlevania,
fucking yeah.
or Mother, or whatever? They keep
Yeah.
trying to remake
Right.
those games,
Or
whereas, like,
tactics games, dude. Like there's fucking a million indie tactics games. It's fucking insane, dude.
yeah, and
Like,
the only ones that I really know of is Wargroove,
yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
I bought one on the Switch, as well. I forgot what it's called, but I bought one on the Switch that kind of looked like fucking Fire Emblem, but it doesn't have the quality of Fire
Dude, you
Emblem,
know how many Fire Emblem clones there are out there? There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that speaks to it, right? And some of those games may be genuinely good, but my thing is, like,
There's too many of them.
it's too many of them.
They're
Yeah,
hard to
exactly,
parse, and the art styles are not distinct enough
exactly,
to really be their own thing. Like that, so that ends up being the problem with them all. They can't differentiate themselves, so then you know purchasers, like potential buyers, get kind of stuck in this limbo of like, do I want to play this? Like this just looks generic. It's like,
exactly.
um, so I don't know. It's a deeper discussion we could definitely have. But yeah, no, I do think in the main, like obviously you make a good game, that's the best way to set yourself up for success. That's the first thing you need to do as a game studio, is focus on actually making a good
Yeah, I
game.
mean, I
You know,
think even though it went under Microsoft's radar, simple fact that they're still pushing Pentiment means that they like people actually like that game. It's
it's a
a
quality game,
quality
right?
game.
Which yeah, I'm intrigued by. I want to try it for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
Yeah, and I think about Larian's obviously like the prime example. They've been making quality games for 10 plus years now, and they've slowly been rising and rising, and then they finally got a hold of a big IP. Um, not something original to them. They got a hold of a big IP and they fucking executed it flawlessly. With Baldur's Gate 3, and they reaped the reward. They've they brought it is unbelievable. I think about the Herculean thing that they have done, that they have actually made CRPGs popular. Like I can't wrap my head around that. As somebody who's played them my whole life and has always loved that genre, like I can't believe it. It's like it's still unbelievable to me how popular Baldur's Gate 3 is.
well,
Um,
it's one of those genres where it's like, I've always said it about CRPGs. I'm like, man, people really put the money into this, which they obviously did. This genre will pop off because you always see the potential, like all the, like, the questing you can do, all the branches and everything like that, and
dude, it's
everything.
Mass Effect on fucking steroids,
Yeah,
in terms of storytelling. Like that's
yeah,
what CRPGs tend to be. It's like
exactly.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and, and
no,
I,
I
I
agree.
always said that, I'm like, if they put the money into it, man, like this will pay off. Like this will be a quality experience. The problem is, and I'm actually glad you bought Mass Effect. I was going to bring that up. And Dragon Age and BioWare is, they either they don't let the studios do what they need to do. once the studio comes out with like something, right? Like
Hmm.
by from Mass Effect or whatever, right? The company wants to put it in the machine and just churn it the fuck out. All right, we
Right.
need to do this. We need it, and it's like chill. Let them cook. All
Yeah.
right, let them cook. That's why we got a disaster of Dragon Age 2, and then we
Yeah.
got Dragon Age Inquisition, which was still kind of a disaster, but passable, right?
Yeah.
Um, I still think Mass Effect 1 2 and 3 are like flawless. I mean, they have their quirks, but that was a flawless like trilogy, y'all. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
y'all.
Yeah.
Um, but then we get Andromeda, right? Where it's like,
Right.
where did y'all go wrong in this? And that can be attuned to like maybe it was like, well, what the problem was with Mass Effect Andromeda? The main people who were making it wanted to move on to something else. And I think that's where the big thing lies right there. People want to move on. Bungie wanted to move on from Halo, you know. And then there
Yeah.
are other studios with that example. And they wanted to move on and make Anthem, but they didn't have the support for Anthem, in my
Right.
opinion.
Well,
Right?
I also think there's something to say for letting something lie. The Mass Effect trilogy, like you said, if I was gonna deep dive and like really talk about the games and quality and stuff, there's plenty of stuff to criticize, right?
Oh
But
yeah,
but I
100%.
largely agree with what you said. Like I think it's actually a very perfect encapsulated experience. Those three games together is just such an amazing journey um to like take as a player, and I think the idea of continuing that in any form was a mistake, and I think
Yes.
Mass Effect 4 is a mistake. Like I don't think it's going to be good. I
Yeah.
have no expectation that it's going to be good at this point, because I think it's just like, leave it, make something else, like make something new. And I'm going to say the same thing to Gorilla with Horizon, dude. With Sony, with that, like they're gonna run this franchise into the ground, where it's like, I hope after Horizon 3 comes out that Gorilla moves on and makes something else, and moves off that IP.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, I think it's gonna be a huge mistake. I think they're gonna run it into the ground, and I think they could end up having a Mass Effect Andromeda situation on their hands, where people don't respond to a fourth game very well because they're done with the franchise. Like they're like, okay, 3 games. This is a great experience in this trilogy. I'm ready for something else. Same thing with Naughty Dog with like The Last of Us, right? If there's a Last of Us 3, and that needs to be the end. They need to move on to a new IP. Like I think they're really pushing it. I think if they just keep going, it's like, and there's certain IPs out there that can continuously, you can just keep making games for. It's like
Yeah.
there are IPs that are like that, but there's certain ones, especially in these narrative driven ones. I think there's just only so much tolerance for them.
Well,
And yeah.
we saw the writing on the wall with like Uncharted, right? We saw
Yeah.
that, at least in my opinion, they were trying to like milk that franchise, and I think Naughty Dog just made it audible. It's like, no, we're gonna we're moving on
Well, the
now. Last
fourth
of Us.
game, dude, the fourth game was not as successful as the other ones. Like
Yeah.
it's just not as well liked as the first three. Like it is kind of like almost like a weird black sheep sort of. And I think I think
I
the
always forget
idea,
about that game. I'm talking about Uncharted. I
yeah, and
always
I
forget
think
about
the idea that Sony and Naughty Dog moved away from that franchise for 10 years was a really good idea, because if they bring it back now, people are like, "Oh yeah, Uncharted, I remember those," and it's like more fresh. It's
Yeah.
like
Yep.
you kind of gave it time to breathe, and it's like people are ready to dive back into that franchise again. If they had just kept making games and we were on Uncharted like 6 or 7 right now, like, God, dude, I want to kill myself. It's like, how much Drake could I possibly handle? It's like I don't need to hear that character every fucking 2 years. It's like, so I think they made the right choice there. And that's kind of what I'm saying with like Last of Us and Horizon. I think they need to have the restraint to realize that there is too much of a good thing is a real thing. You know,
Yeah.
People will get tired of a franchise if it stays around too long.
Yeah. I 100% agree. But I mean that's the key to success as well. Like I think making a good game and then knowing when to move on from said good game. Like I don't want a Baldur's Gate 3 or 3-6 or Baldur's Gate,
Or
the
even a
black
Baldur's Gate
hole.
4. Should they actually make that game? I don't know. you
If
know,
they were to
it's
make a
like,
Baldur's Gate 4, it has to be drastically different. I don't want
yeah.
a
Right.
continuation of Baldur's Gate 3. That's what I'm saying. Like the storyline of Baldur's Gate 3, I don't want that
Or the way the
continuation.
game's structured needs to be very different,
Yeah,
or the way it
exactly.
plays in some ways probably needs to be different.
I
Because
mean,
yeah, I don't know.
because they even did it with the Divinity and Divinity Original Sin or whatever. Like they Original Sin 2 or whatever. It was like it's like they took one storyline, then the next storyline is like 500 years or 1,000 years in the future or something of that nature. So
Right.
it's like they knew what they were doing. And another franchise, in my opinion, that by the grace of God has just gotten lucky. Um, for some reason, people aren't tired of it. Are the Souls games? I don't
Yeah.
know how people aren't tired of it at this point, but Miyazaki, I mean, obviously he's a great game designer, and the From Software is a great game company, and they tend to spice up the game and make it fresh, distinctive from each other game while keeping its core identity. Um, I don't know how they do it, but they do it right.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but I think Elden Ring and this DLC will be their magnum opus as far as like Souls games. I think they don't want to revisit Bloodborne, even though everyone keeps asking them to, is because that
They're going backwards.
they're going backwards. They don't need to. They don't want to touch Sekiro because both of us. If he said I don't want to touch Sekiro because I think it's a perfect game, I will 100% agree with him.
Bro, I would clap so loud. Like it's like you are, bro, you never need to touch Sekiro. We don't need a Sekiro 2.
Yeah, we don't. We
I
don't
would be excited for it. I would probably play it, but I don't need it. Sekiro's right
exactly.
there. You know, I can always go back and replay that game. It's perfect. It is literally perfect.
Yeah.
Like I just, yeah, it's, I don't know. Yeah. So
So I mean that, and even like Neo, I feel like Neo was like a untapped franchise. I wanted to get like a Neo 3, but they even I
no,
think Team Ninja
Neo 2 is perfected what, like
with that,
perfected the game.
yeah.
Like
So
there's
they,
nowhere to
they-
go.
that's
Like
where they
I
moved on to Wulong, and that's where they moved on to
100%.
yeah, Stranger in
Rise of the
Paradise and
Ronin and
yeah, Rise of
yeah,
Ronin and
yeah.
everything.
No, and that takes restraint, I think. You know, and it maybe didn't work out necessarily super well for Team Ninja. Like these other games that we're talking about haven't, you know, done super well compared to Neo and Neo 2, but they still had the restraint to say, look, we don't need to just keep chasing Neo. Like what from a design standpoint, where is there to go with Neo 3?
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
nowhere.
There's nowhere to
Like
go.
dude, you've perfected the game with Neo 2. Like there's really nowhere else to go. So it's like I think it would have been a mistake to try to make a third game. And yeah, and I'm hoping Rise of the Ronin is like kind of their return to form, I guess, almost I should say, where
Yeah,
it's like a new franchise for them that really kind of hits the way Neo did.
yeah. So I mean, I agree with Larry. I think the other thing that he probably should have added is like if a franchise has ran its time up, then like let it go.
Yeah.
Halo is one of those rare franchises where you can do a million things with it. Like it's almost the Warhammer of Xbox. You can just do a
Right.
million things within that franchise, and there's almost no downside to doing that shit because there's going to be a you're pulling people. If you did like a Halo CRPG, you're pulling the CPRG crowd into your franchise. If you do a Halo um Helldivers type game or cooperative
Mhm.
game, you're pulling those people, that niche franchise into it or whatever the case may
Or
be.
like a Halo twin stick shooter, you
They
know.
did have that. It was Spartan Ops. They had Spartan
Oh,
Ops.
okay.
Yeah.
Never heard of that.
So
That's cool. Yeah, that'd be really cool though.
but they
Yeah.
never really popularized it. But I thought it was really
I
cool
didn't
because I
even know
played
it.
it.
I don't even know what it is, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
fucking I'm enamored in the industry, so it's
yeah,
like
they
that's
they
crazy.
did do that, and a lot of people appreciated that type of stuff. They expanded the lore and everything of that nature, and I don't know,
Well, it's a
like just
different way to engage with a franchise you really like, right?
exactly.
You know, and
So I think Halo can be that
multimedia. Yeah.
multimedia, multi console genre because you can do so much
Not
stuff
with the
with it.
current TV show though.
Oh.
Bro, have you seen the
I watched season 2 a little bit. Season 2 is a
Okay.
little bit okay.
Okay.
It's like
I've
a
seen
it's like a
some memes.
6. It's like
Oh
a 6 out
boy.
of 10.
Yeah, they just don't get it
You
though. I
know
don't
what?
understand.
They made this TV. I have to come to the realization. It's not me coping, and I just came to the realization that we're not going to get like a Last of Us style Halo TV show.
I almost want to
Even though
watch it.
uh my wife's mother watches that show and she
Yeah.
likes it. She
Okay.
knows nothing about Halo though. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's what the people they're going for. Like
That's
people who
so
know
bad
nothing.
though. Come on,
I
man.
know,
I
man.
don't
I
know.
know.
Well, do you think I should watch it? Like, do you think it'll be a good laugh at least?
The first season, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. I might give it a shot. It's just so I don't want to subscribe to Paramount Plus though for it. So
I mean, I think there's some other stuff on Paramount Plus that you can watch as well.
I'm really
Uh,
into Apple right now. I'm into Apple TV land.
is it
So
good? I need to subscribe to that.
yes, actually, dude, like I'm really impressed with Invasion. Like that show. I'm not like hooked on it in the sense that I'm like binging it like super crazy, but I every time I watch it, I enjoy the episode I watch. So it's pretty good. And I've heard there's a lot of good sci-fi shows on Apple
Okay.
TV. So I'm just exploring that one right now and just seeing how many shows I can absorb while my subscription's active. So yeah,
All
maybe I'll
right.
check out the Halo show. But all right, Macho, let's move on. We've been we fucking severely digressed there.
Yeah,
So
we did.
we got one more story to get through, and then a question, and then we can get out of here. So this one is mostly something I've been following. Is a game called, I think I mentioned this game once, maybe or twice on the show before. Is it's called Secrets of Grindia, and it is a old school kind of sprite based little action RPG that I have been following since, I don't know, like 20 fucking 16 or something like that. This game has been in development for so fucking long, it's crazy. But I decided to look a couple weeks ago just to see, like, I check periodically, like maybe once every 6 months, just to see where this game's at, because they steadily were making progress on it, and they released like a weekly dev blog, on kind of progress they're making with the game and everything like that. And then I looked, and they were preparing for a full release. And I was like, holy fucking shit, are you kidding me? Like, I can't believe this is fucking real. Like, I never thought this game was ever going to come out. It just felt like it's just been so long that it's like, I never actually felt like it was coming out. So they announced this week it's coming out on February 29th, a week from today that we're recording. And yeah, I really recommend people check this game out on Steam. Like, if you're into that kind of old school SNES style action game, this might be a game worth checking out. It
Yeah, this
looks really
looks
robust,
it looks really
and
fun.
yeah, I think this game is actually going to be a pretty big hit. Like, I think this might just come out of nowhere and surprise people. Because yeah, they've taken their time with it. They are severely dedicated to quality with this one. Like, they're not cutting corners. They haven't taken any shortcuts. Like, they are making sure the game is 100% like fucking ready to go. So
Okay.
so yeah, I just wanted to bring this one up because I've been following it for a long time. But if you go on their website, their first blog post was in November 2011. So they've been working on this game for an absurd amount of time, but it's finally coming, man. And yeah, so it's a good one to look forward to. It's Secrets of Grindia. Again, just to check that out on Steam. So um all right, Montrell, we did have a question, like I said, from Dat Dude this week. And I thought it was a good one. He says, what's up, fellas? With all the rumors going around about Nintendo's new hardware, I'm curious to know what you guys would like to see personally from Nintendo's next console. Justin, I know you were still enjoying handheld gaming like me, so I'm interested in your thoughts. So I'll take this one first. Yeah, so yes, I'm a big handheld gamer, and I am apparently a weirdo with the Nintendo Switch because I play it exclusively in handheld mode, and literally everyone I've ever heard talk about this says they never do that. And I'm like the only person that actually plays games in handheld mode. But I like handheld gaming. I don't know. Like, I just enjoy the form factor and holding a device and like playing it on the small screen. I enjoy that for the most part. But yeah, the Switch is interesting though right now. Like, I don't know. I've talked to a bunch of people recently about the Switch, but dude, I haven't picked my Switch up since I beat Fire Emblem Engage literally last year. Like, I literally haven't even touched it. Like, it actually has a layer of dust on the screen right now. I'm looking at it right now. The poor thing. I should probably wipe that off. Um, but yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Like, for whatever reason, Nintendo at the moment has not been gripping me with the games they're releasing. Even though there's stuff on Switch I have in my Amazon wish list that I would love to buy and like play. It's just I'm not finding the room for it for the most part. And with the advent of the Steam Deck, I'm just like so enamored with that thing that I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm in a weird spot with Nintendo. However, Switch 2, what would I want out of the Switch 2? That's the thing. I don't know where Nintendo fits anymore right now. You know, Valve took the high end and made something excellent at the very high end of what a handheld can probably do. And there are rumors of Sony and Microsoft looking to release their own handheld devices, and those will probably be in the higher end as well. So I assume that the Nintendo Switch, the next Switch, is going to kind of occupy the same space it currently does, which is kind of that lower end, capable of playing console games, but it's not going to be like a hyper power machine. So the idea of like getting like a huge graphical upgrade out of the next Switch is probably a, you know, that's like a pipe dream. So I don't really know, to be honest. I can't answer this question. It's kind of one of those things. I almost need Nintendo to convince me that I need a Switch to, you know. So I'm very curious about when they announce it, what the new device is like going to come with. Like what are the features it's going to have, you know? Because I do feel like, and I've always felt this way ever since the Switch launched, that despite the portability of it and the ability to, dock it or undock it and play it in both modes, outside of that one thing, I feel like it's a very basic device, that is not really robust in a lot of ways, and I would like to see a little bit more, some features, I guess, like some added features that would kind of enhance the experience a little bit more, because it's they've never really added anything to it over the years that has like compelled me to, especially from like a interface standpoint. Like the interface is still just a basic ass fucking same blocky thing they did when they relaunched it. I remember when it launched, I like opened it, turned it on, and I was like, man, this interface, well, they'll make this interface better over time, and then they never did. It's the same shit that it's always been, and that's always been weird to me. So I don't know. It almost makes me feel like on the software front, like the interface front, that they actually make something much more robust and in depth, than the Switch has. I know that's like I don't know. It's kind of like a basic answer, but I don't know. It's like it's kind of hard question to answer, dude. Like it's I kind of need Nintendo to show me what I want. Like I don't know what I want in this case, and I kind of need the company to like convince me that I need another Switch. So, Montreal, what about you? How do you feel about this one?
Um, I feel like they need Bluetooth.
True, that would definitely be a big.
uh,
That's definitely yes, 100%.
they need Bluetooth for sure, 100%. That's my biggest gripe with fucking the Switch. I gotta buy if I want to use a. I can't use a wireless headset. I have to buy like a dongle and everything like that. It's really a pain. Um, and I just want it to be more powerful, man. Like that's all I want. I want it to at least handle. Well, after seeing Valve's console, I forgot the name of the console already.
Steam Deck.
The Steam
Yeah.
Deck. I think there's no excuse for it to be powerful. Maybe if
Yeah,
for
it's
a
just in
price
a
point,
price bracket though they
yeah,
don't want to be in.
yeah. So
Like yeah,
I want it to be like a. You know what? I want it to be the same power as a fucking if it's even possible, as the Xbox Series S. I think that's
they can
achievable.
definitely hit. They can definitely achieve that.
Yeah, and that's really my main thing. I think they should try to get back into, and then I want the dock to be a next level of gaming, right? I don't want it to just be a dock. I want it to like actually facilitate and power up the console a little bit more to where it can handle next gen games so that we can get multi-platform games again on the Switch that were coming day and date with
Good thought.
Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's actually what I want. I want them to go back to that time.
Or
But who
maybe it's like an
knows?
expansion, right? Like the base model is just like the normal dock that we have,
Exactly. Yeah.
now, but then you can buy like a powered up dock that will enhance the console. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
and
interesting.
and you can play it in like the more enhanced mode or whatever the case may be. A slider, just like performance mode, and then play in like fidelity mode or something like that with most of
Yep.
their games or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean that's primarily what I want from it. I want and increase thumbsticks. Like I hate the thumbsticks on the Switch.
Oh yeah, I
Uh,
can see that. Yeah, a little
I
bit
just
more
want
raised and
yeah.
more pronounced. Yeah, they are pretty. They are
Um,
pretty light.
I just think the ergonomics of the Switch is kind of weird. I do like the third party stuff. I want them to continue to do the third party support.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised how much third party support there is for the Switch because I remember
yeah.
Nintendo was like really anal about that type of shit before. Um, and I actually want more third party support for the Switch. Um,
Well, let me
and
ask you
better
this.
online infrastructure or if,
Yeah. Oh,
um,
for
uh,
sure.
yeah,
God, yeah.
I
Like a
do want
real
a better.
online service.
Yeah, I do want a better online thing. If I do want to play my game on the Switch, I don't want to have to use my phone to actually communicate with people and everything of that nature. Um,
Yeah.
it was really crazy. So yeah, that's
So,
that's my wish list.
do you think this is, I mean, I know this feels like it would be insane for Nintendo to do, but I mean, they've always been known to go they zig when or they zag when everyone else they think they're going to zig, you know.
Hmm.
Um do you think there's a chance here that the next device is not a Switch at all? Like
Yeah,
it's just totally
I was just
different.
I was just actually just about to say that
Yeah.
at the end of my rant.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a high chance, man. I wouldn't put it past them. There's literally like a 40 to 50% chance that we're not even going to get a Switch Pro. It's going to be something completely different off the wall. And I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like that would be a death knell for them. Like I think they would kill themselves again if they did that. Like it would be a Wii U situation. Like
Yep.
I think it would be so dumb for them to not just do another a hybrid console. But I don't know. Nintendo sometimes they take us by surprise, you know. So I guess we'll find out about that. So I'm excited though for whatever announcement event they do. Um, I'm always interested to see what Nintendo's got up their sleeve. They're gonna surprise us in some way. Like there's gonna be something that none of us could possibly think of that they've done with whatever the next device is. So,
Yeah,
um,
I think they were ahead of the bell curve, and their only competition is the Steam Deck.
yeah,
In my opinion, because I think people are going to have to follow them. PlayStation and Xbox is going to have to follow them. I think that's why they're doing all this streaming uh stuff. They're trying to do it like the cheap way, but the actual ways they're going to have to actually make a portable console, in my opinion, to compete
yeah,
with Steam Deck and Switch.
yeah. Well, yeah, no, I think Sony in particular, I think they want to have a unified experience on if they're going to make a handheld, it's going to be Steam Deck style. Like it's going to be integrated with your PlayStation library and shit, and like you're going to be able to like fully play anything on it, and it will be able to handle that. And yeah, to me, that's the only way forward. I don't think they can make a bespoke like Vita or PSP style handheld that has its own ecosystem. I don't think that's viable anymore. But Nintendo and Valve have proven though that there is a place for handhelds in the market in games. It's just you need a kind of a unified platform with it if you're going to release one. So cool. I'm excited to see what they come up with. So, all right, Montreal, let's move on to our final segment here, which is guess the meta score. We guessed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth a while back, and that game is now upon us, and the scores are out for it. Let's see if I can find it. There we go. Got it. Where do I got it? Here it is. Rebirth. Am I crazy? Oh, there we go. Okay. I found it. So Montreal, you guessed a 95, and I guessed a 93 on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And currently, right now, with over 100 critic ratings, it is sitting at a 93, 119 critic ratings. So there's a chance that it'll move up and down, maybe 1 point at some
Mhm.
point in the next couple of days, but or next week or so. But right now, I got it right on the nose, baby. Let's go.
All right,
It's
I
possible
guess
though it
so.
goes to 94 and then we're both right. So,
Yeah, I give you that one. And then we didn't do Granblue Fantasy.
we did. Yes, we did.
Oh, we did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, we talked about that a few weeks ago. Um, but I think that one was I think you got that one, didn't you?
Oh, I did. Yeah, you're right. I think I
All right,
did.
no, I did.
Wait, you did?
Yeah, that's right. I guess an 8 and I think it's got a 81 or
Okay.
it is an 80. Let me go back to like a different we have the outlines from last week. Let me go look. Granblue Fantasy Relink. Yeah, I said 80, 81. You said a 70.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I got that one. It's a 80 right now. I think the one you got was what was the other game we had? Was Persona 3 Reload. I think you got that one. You
Okay,
said 80.
yeah,
You said 87. I said 86, and I think it's like a 89 or something right now.
okay.
So Reload. Yeah, it's an 88 actually. You're almost right on the dot with that one. So yeah. We do have Rise of the Ronin and Dragon's Dogma 2 coming up. And we'll probably do like, I don't know, Stellar Blade or something.
Okay.
Actually, you want to do that right now?
That comes out in a month. We can wait
2 months. 2 months.
2 months.
All right.
Yeah, we can wait.
We can wait. All right. Fair enough. All right. Well, cool. Regardless, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth shaping up. Sounds like a great game, but it sounds like it's also going to be very large. So if you're not in the mood for a game that's 50 to 100 hours, might not be for you at the moment. But does sound like they kind of maintain the quality bar from remake. So, and that was kind of always my question on it. So, we'll see. All right, Montrell, that's all we got today. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Nope, that's it.
All right, then let's get the hell out of here. So, if you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share with your friends. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap4the Hokage. For Montreal, that is the number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01, and the show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. That is going to be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next week.